Good evening, everybody. How are we doing today? Are we ready for tonight's episode? We are doing episode 4 of the Thick and Spooky Ghouls podcast, and hopefully you guys can all hear me just fine. Please let me know in the chat if you can hear me just fine. If my mic is too loud, let me know. If it's too quiet, let me know. I need some feedback before we get into it. I also will need some feedback to make sure that we can hear the lovely ladies waiting for us. So, But how's everybody doing? Hopefully you guys are doing great because I'm excited and nervous for today's episode. Today is our Bigfoot's episode. Each of us are going to be discussing a different Bigfoot-esque Sasquatch-esque character. So I'm very excited for it. But I'm glad to have you guys here. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. It might be a little bit long, but we're going to make it work. So let's go ahead and get the ladies pulled up over here in the voice chat so they can all say hello to you. All right, hold on. Sorry, I just got a message that threw me off for a second there, but I'm here. Oh, I forgot to do this real quickly. Oh, man, I will get that in there in a second, Baguette. I'm so sorry. I forgot to add that. I knew that I asked you for it, but then I got distracted by setting up, so hold on. I'm just going to go ahead and put it in a folder right now for us. MoMo. All right, there we go. So today, we're going to have... Oh, why are you... That's not where I wanted you. This is where I wanted you. There we go. All right, so today we are discussing this, the Yeren, which is going to be covered by Miso Thorny. We've got MoMo the Monster, which is going to be covered by the Baguette of Dicks. And we will end tonight with the Minnesota Iceman, which is a topic that I'm excited to talk to you guys about. And it is absolutely bonkers. So, just hang in there for a few more minutes. We're getting set up. But while we're over here, let's go ahead and say hello to the lovely ladies.
The whole concept of rooming.
Hi, you guys. Welcome in.
We're talking about Shakespeare.
Oh, you guys are talking about
Shakespeare.
Well, say hello to the chat.
Hello.
We've got Baguette, who's still under the weather, so the voice might be a little bit of a struggle, but we're working on it. All right, let me go ahead.
Different.
So different. All right, there we go. Hopefully, I've got this all set up. Let me go ahead and get into where we need to get into, which is our spooky podcast. Oh God, what happened? Do you see what happened just now? Miso.
No, I did not see.
Miso, oh my God. Miso, didn't I just crop you? Oh my God. Please hold while I fix this transformation because
you got it set up exactly the way you
see
wanted,
my inner workings of my shitty living room.
Oh my God, what the hell? And
oh God,
it's not moving. It's like, no, I don't want to move. So hold on, you guys. Sorry, you guys. You're just gonna look at beautiful Miso. You're gonna have to look at Miso for a bit right now while we figure this out. Oh God, that's even worse.
No.
Oh my God, it's even worse. Hold on, we're getting there. No.
Vulgar's back there laughing.
Vulgar, don't you laugh at my suffering.
Don't you laugh at it.
Don't you laugh at it, Vulgar.
Don't you laugh at it.
Oh my God. Sorry, you guys.
I don't understand why it does this to us every time.
I know, it's because I switched over to my private message and I left the voice chat, and so every time it reset it to I'm so sorry.
Don't be sorry. It's all right.
I'm sorry to the chat, not to you.
It's time for people
I'm not sorry to you. I'm not sorry to you. I'm sorry to the chat.
That's good. Don't be. The chat knows why they're here. This is just edging them into the podcast, okay? We're getting them ready for this sick and spooky shit, okay?
We're a mess, but we're trying, okay? What matters is we're trying our best, okay? We're trying our best here. I'm so sorry. Oh God, Daku. Like, I set it up to, and then I'm like, oh no, I gotta get the picture from Baguette, and after I got the picture from Baguette, I'm like, oh no, I just totally fucked up our layout and setup. But all right, I'm still gonna be at your tits, so maybe I can move there. Oh, there we go. Oh no, but now you're distorted.
Just hanging out on his desk. We're not sponsored by them, by the way.
Yeah, please, we're not sponsored by anyone yet. Yeah.
Yeah. You keep
If
fishing for
you
that
want to be a
sponsorship
part
deal.
of this train wreck, we are welcoming. We are welcoming to anyone that wants to join this train wreck and support us. Yeah, that's great. Go ahead and do it. There we go. Now,
As we do this, you
oh,
can see
I love.
we're repping the merch.
Oh yeah, we are. Oh yeah,
We
we
got
are.
our matchies.
Yeah. All right. So today,
We are decked out.
Beck, welcome
I have one of those. Should
in.
I put mine on?
Yeah, you should.
Your cat, does your cat have one? Because your cat's what everybody's saying.
Put one on it.
But welcome in, everybody. Welcome in, everybody. We've got our Thick and Spooky Ghouls merch, of course. As you can see, I've got the regular Thick and Spooky Ghouls, the Thick and Spooky Ghouls, a Paranormal Podcast t-shirt right over here. We've got Miso. Show your shirt, Miso. We've got Miso with the Spooky Ghouls ugly Christmas sweater. I call it the ugly Halloween sweater because it's more Halloween themed than anything, but you know. But welcome in. We are here, aren't we? That's part of the train wreck. Thank you for that. Yeah, you are a part of this train wreck. And you will be a part of this train wreck in a few months because I'm going to need you to be a guest for the podcast.
Yeah, we couldn't have it
or we can be a guest for you even though we're not big names like who you interview. Epic. Wow. Epic.
Yeah, he gets some crazy big.
Woo!
Like, I'm just like, whoa.
Epic.
Holy
you
shit.
really are epic. Huh? Oh, I'm done. All right. I'm nervous, you guys. All right. So we're going to do this podcast a little bit different this time around. Miso is
I think
going
it's our first one without it
me
being
starting.
a charity event, isn't it?
Yeah. It's the first one.
Besides
No.
our
We did
our very first one.
Our very first one didn't have the charity event attached to it, but yeah. So you guys, I'm very, very excited. You guys know that we've got, epic. You don't need to blush. So everybody, I do have new emotes if you want to go ahead and take a look at those emotes and spam them. So, welcome in. So we are the Thick and Spooky Ghouls podcast. We're just a couple ladies who love each other and love anything spooky and creepy, and we're just having a good time, and we like to talk about some creepy shit and share our creepy shit with you guys. And we're big fans of the paranormal, clearly. So, look, Jonathan has all the emotes right now. All the emotes. Yeah, the alien abduction, the Sasquatch abduction one. I was so excited about that. So I'm glad that I got that emote there.
So much.
All right, so we're gonna start. This is gonna be our first time that we're actually gonna start the podcast with Miso opening today, and I will be closing today. So we're gonna have Miso started up today. Then after we start it up, we're gonna have Baguette, and then I'm gonna close it up. So you guys, that's gonna be a little bit of a long one because my topic is very long. So get your drinks ready and buckle in, babies. Buckle in.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think this is our first time having a guest, isn't it?
It is our first guest appearance. Yeah, it's our very first guest appearance. So you know.
Yeah, our first guest.
Yeah, our first guest.
So, today we are discussing different types of Bigfoot, Sasquatches, Yetis, even. I feel like most people have heard of, some sort of Bigfoot, right? Like some kind of Bigfoot, some kind of Yeti, sassy Squatches. We were inspired, of course, by our own sassy Squatch, formerly known as John, the mediocre gamer. And again, before I start into my topic, last time my audio was a little low, so please let us know how the audio sounds, guys. It's so important.
Can you hear her? Please tell us that you can hear her.
Please, God.
Please tell us you can hear her, and please tell us that she is actually
for our sanity.
At least she is closer to like her volume is the same level as mine. That's what I'm trying to hope for, is that our volumes are all the same level. So I need to make sure that you guys can hear me just as clearly as you can hear Miso, because I was really upset with the Duende episode because I was just frustrated that I didn't get to have like Miso. You could barely hear her, and we had some back and forths, and I'm like, oh my god, I can't believe it. So please let us know. It's really,
I have a new mic
important.
now though, so hopefully that helps too.
Yeah.
All right, thank you, Ray. Thank you, Jonathan. Thank you, Ginja. Thank you, everybody. Yeah. All right, so let's kick this off, shall we? Mine is about the Yeren, not urine like pee-pee, but Yeren, Yeren. And that is the Chinese Bigfoot.
Sorry.
They also call him like the wild man. You're all right, Bam. It's because I can't see your face because I have this up and this up. Let me see.
Oh, it's not that. It's just I'm having a hard time with something that I'm doing real quickly. I'm just fixing it up. I'm so sorry, guys. I'm so sorry. I know that that popped up and interrupted things, but we're fixing it. We're fixing it. All
That
right.
gives me a second to get around.
Okay, I'm done. I'm done.
All
Thank
right,
you.
now. Anyway, we're okay. So the Yeren is the Chinese Bigfoot, or the wild man, is what they called him before they came up with the name Yeren. Um, and he is a cryptid, much like the ape man we know, Bigfoot or Sasquatch. He is reported to live in the mountains of China. Now, this is China, so it's words are not going to be pronounced well. Okay, we know I can't pronounce things, so bear with me. But he is most famously spotted in the Xinjiang. I sat here and listened to multiple things on how to pronounce this. Shenonjia Forestry District in the Hubei province. Sightings of this hairy man have been happening regularly all the way back since 340 BCE. BCE. Take that in. That's fucking crazy long.
That's a long time.
Um,
That's a
yeah.
yeah. Okay.
I would say that's, and he was called, the wild man or the hairy man more so back then. Um, then he became the modern legend of today of the Yeren. Um, he is most often described as like, well, not he, they, it's a species, but most often described as savage, strong, fast moving. They live in caves and mountains and only come down to raid villages in search of food, women, and men, and just like materials. Like they'll raid villages and they will kidnap people. Depending on the gender of the Yeren, depends on who they kidnap. They're not super like. I feel like a lot of the Bigfoots and stuff that you hear about are like very like not as aggressive, but these ones, if you see them, they're pretty much gonna be, aggressive, or they're coming down to like take.
Um,
Um,
a few of the Sasquatches that people talk about are aggressive in the sense that they some have like lore of like raping women.
that's exactly.
Okay,
That's
so
yeah.
they're aggressive in
Well,
that sense.
yeah.
Is that like
That's
yeah?
exactly how they're aggressive in this.
Okay,
They're territorial, and they will come, like I said, they come down for food and to take men or women depending on the gender of said urine. Um,
okay.
but there's lore for both, which
Do you
we'll
know what their
definitely
type
touch on
was?
that.
Do they have a specific type? Like how do you not get picked? Do they want someone
Stay the fuck
tall?
out of the woods. You stay the fuck out of the woods. You stay out of the
Some
Shinnoji
people are into
Forestry
that.
District. True. Oh no, Mr. Bigfoot, I've fallen in the middle of the woods.
Oh
Oh
no, I
no.
tripped over nothing. I'm
Oh
gonna take
no.
25 minutes to try and get up from tripping over nothing.
I heard you have large feet.
Yeah.
But so where was that? Witnesses typically describe the creature as bipedal, which means, walking on 2 feet, and always over 6 foot tall, sometimes as tall as 8 foot, um, covered in hair all over the body, like most, Yetis and Sasquatches. It's especially long, said to be like long at the scalp, kind of. I don't know if you ever seen like an orangutan, how they have like, longer hair, kind of like right here with the big kind of open
Yeah.
face.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what you'll see. I have some pictures here in a minute that I'll have you show,
Mhm.
but it's very similar to that. Um, and it has a face reminiscent of both an ape and a human. Other common, often shared descriptors of the urine include blackish red hair, sometimes said to be white as well, but these are extremely rare sightings. They have distended eyes, long arms, that's hands come all like they hang all the way to the knee, like an orangutan. Again, very similar to apes that you see in nature. And they're said to have very big feet. Now, will you show our first set of photos for me?
You've got it.
Thank you.
All right, we've got them in the screen. We've got all 3 up on the screen.
There they are. So these, as you can see where how the hair is kind of like, a little bit longer.
It's a unique
first
thing.
one-
It's a unique thing for a Sasquatch
Okay.
to have longer hair, like in the back and hair, like
exactly.
hair. Like usually it's like the same amount of hair all over. They don't actually have like what almost looks like a mane or like hair, actual
Like hair.
long
Yeah,
hair.
like hair.
Okay,
Yeah, exactly.
okay.
Okay, so
And
smash
that's-
or pass.
I mean, I feel like, did I smash or pass the Sasquatch? I mean, it's the same thing for any kind of Sasquatch for me.
Smashed it. We smashed it
I don't know,
hard.
It
you guys
depends
said
on which
this
one of
had,
these.
like an issue with consent. That's kind of pass on me.
You might say, oh, that's true. That's true. They are definitely not one to ask. From the stories I read, I was not ready for some of the lore with this one. But as you can see, the first one is like a really old descriptor of it, and again, like Daku said, it has like long hair. It has like a mane. It has like long hair, almost human hair in some descriptions. Others, it's more like animalistic. But either way, it's kind of more unique to the Yeren. From what I saw, at least, I haven't researched every Bigfoot type creature around the world, but it's very unique to it. It almost always has that reddish black hair. That's kind of makes it unique to its own. Um, and it's also commonly reported to laugh, like very loudly, echoing through. You know how like baboons and stuff kind of do that. Not a laugh, but you know what I mean, like that baboon noise, right? You could hear that in the woods, and it would be fucking terrifying. Just like you never heard a baboon like whoop? I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna do it. I refuse.
I
But I
don't
would like
know.
you very
Is it
much
like
to
a
do
whoop
it.
whoop
Tempted.
whoop? Like what?
Yeah,
Is it like a whoop whoop whoop? Is that what it is?
yeah. Some of them are. Yeah, I'm surprised you've never heard it. It's like my potato baked brain trying to think of how to imitate an orangutan.
Orangutan? Yeah.
Orangutan. Orangutan.
It's a hard one to
I'm a
say.
hick. Orangutan. Orangutan. But they make the urine is said to laugh though. Like
Yeah.
laugh, like a person, like human, like very human, but very loud.
Is
And
it like
booming.
a female human voice or a child
Most
or
of the time,
male?
or no, adult man, deep, scary, like
Okay.
No.
laughing. So imagine hearing that in the middle of the woods, right?
Nope.
You're in the
Don't like
middle
that.
of the Shinjunji
I don't want to imagine it actually.
Nunji
No.
forest in the middle of the mountains, and so mountain forests are often like really thick too, so it's like zero visibility, and you just hear that laughing that's like super loud, but you can't see where it's coming. Fuck that.
That's a big
No.
That's
No,
very
no.
scary. That's very scary.
No,
And
stay inside
especially
forever.
like this is such an old like legend that like especially back then they would have like no fucking idea. If it wasn't, some crazy cryptid, then they still wouldn't have any idea what the fuck that was. But there's also a witness who was said to be grabbed by the wrist by one and dragged for like a short distance, and he reported that as he was being dragged, it laughed the whole time, and then released him and just like disappeared into the woods.
That's nightmare fuel. If I
No.
Isn't
you
it?
know.
Yes, it's so scary.
No,
Like,
thank you,
oh my
please.
god. Like, I can't imagine. I would never. I would leave. I would leave. I would go move into the city.
You'd be like,
fuck
I'm
that.
out. Peace.
I'm out. I'm not gonna live here anymore. You guys have fun. All
You're-
right.
you're like,
Peace
"No,
out,
thanks."
man.
Oh my god, that's scary for sure.
So, let's dive into the history of the urine a little bit, right? The
Yeah.
urine. Someone's gonna be like, you can't pronounce for shit. Because this one's got like a really old history. We already touched that it goes back to 340 BCE.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the first like oral traditions or like stories of the wild man or the Yeren. And it's but it's also mentioned in ancient literature. Sorry. It's mentioned in ancient literature as far back as 340 BCE, and oral traditions go back 2,000 years. flip-flop that a little bit there. It's old as fuck is what I'm saying.
Okay, that's fair.
Now, the earliest written mention of this Yeren is in a poem, and it's called GG 9. It's by Q1, and that was 340 BCE. And the subject of this poem is debated by scholars. Some of them believe it's the Yeren, some believe it's like an older description of like a demon or an ogre, which are both very prominent in a lot of Chinese lore and like literature and stuff like that. Now, if that poem is discounted as the earliest written source, then we go back to it being mentioned in Shang Hong Yi from the 4th century BCE. And this story describes hairy people. And also in that same century, Yi Zhao Shu also notes hairy creatures that live in the mountains, resembling a man with hair hanging down its back that runs quickly and devours people.
Okay.
And that is like a very shared trait, right? Is that they are very quick, they're big, and they eat people. They do like to eat people, apparently. That's
Human meat.
one of their favorite snacks. Yeah, they like to come down from their caves every once in a while, kidnap people, eat people, steal food.
What do you think they call our arms and our legs? Do you think they still call our thighs like drumsticks? I'm just is our arms considered wings?
You know, I never stopped to think about that before. That is a interesting quarry.
If there's any creatures that eat humans, like, do they have names? If there's any cannibals in the chat, do you have names for what the parts are that you eat? Are they called drumsticks, like a human drumstick, or is it like a human leg, like you call a turkey leg, or is it like, I don't know. Just curious.
I mean, I would think it would be like frog legs, you know what I mean? But people legs.
Isn't
little people
pork?
poppers.
What'd you say, Big?
It's called long pork. It is called long pork.
Okay. Sorry, I went into dark
Can't even
place.
Google it. Would be too suspicious. It's true. Oh my god.
Okay.
Fuck, that's funny.
So they eat human flesh.
Right. So, these sources back all the way again. If the first one's discounted, the 4th century BCE, which again, that's insanely old for a legend to hold up and, you know, just keep going through the decades and centuries and shit. That's fucking super old. That's one of the older cryptids I think I've ever heard of, for certain. Now, during the Tang Dynasty, which was like 618 to 907 BCE, these sightings just increased, right?
Yeah.
It only increased. So one of these examples is in Duan Qingxi's book, Zhaozu, in 853 BCE. I literally just can't believe it's that old. And he said, its shape is that of an ape. It uses human speech, but it sounds like a bird. It can foretell life and death. Its blood can dye things dark purple, and its hair can be used to make wigs. Legend has it that its heels face backwards. Hunters say it has no knees.
Okay, that's creepy. Their feet are backwards.
Right? Feet are backwards and it has no knees.
But purple blood. Purple blood to make purple clothing?
And beautiful hair.
I mean,
they
long,
luscious mane.
Long, luscious mane, purple blood. What? Oh my god.
I don't think it gets any better than that.
Are you sure? Because you could not eat humans and you could not stink up a storm. But, you know, whatever works for you.
Their bodies are useful, right? So when you gotta murder them when they come down to, like, pillage your village, you can at least use them. Which I want to know how they know this. Like, did you catch one and make some wigs and use its blood to dye some stuff purple? It's like Indian Dayans.
Oh no, I did it
Oh,
again.
God.
Why did I leave? Oh no.
Oh
You're gonna
no.
get big again. Nope. We're good. We're good. I'm just gonna check on my phone. I'll check on my phone. Sorry, continue.
Okay.
I forgot again and I'm like, don't do that. Don't do
Now
that again.
we've actually kind of talked about this already in the beginning, but we're going to dive a little more into it. So, a lot of these portrayals of the Yeren, um, they're lustful, right? They're lustful, creepy little fuckers. And they often would capture villagers to be their mates. Now, it was says because for the male Yeren that they did not have any females of their kind. So, they would capture female women and to make babies with. Um, but there's also the reverse, and that's the story of the female Yeren who did not have
Ooh.
any male mates, so they were called wild women or wild wives, and they would abduct men, fling them over their shoulders, and carry them up to the mountains to be wed.
Like the
Now,
cavemen?
yes,
Bonk.
like literally like cave women. They're
Mine?
like Snoo Snoo, the episode of Futurama. If anyone else is familiar with the Amazon episode of Futurama, that's what the vibe it gave me for certain. Um, but like Baguette said earlier, not great with consent. And I'm sugarcoating these stories. There are some really fucked up ones. I was like, Jesus Christ! Like I was not ready
You're like, I'm not
at
prepared for
all. It gets dark. You forget how dark some of these like old, like especially like these folklore ones. Like, woof, dark. But to me, it made me think it was a way specifically for women, just because most of it was aimed at women, like these stories, like to get them not to wander away from the village at night, or like go into like the woods, like don't go too far from home because you're gonna get snatched up and eaten, or like you know the urine's gonna get you type of thing. And I think that was like part of probably what that was as well with those stories, because we see in a lot of stories with folklore and cryptids and things, they're like cautionary tales, all that fun stuff. Don't go in the woods or the witch will eat you, or the urine will eat your flesh leather.
Baguette's like just quietly Googling cannibalism. What'd you say it was,
Oh
Baguette?
no.
There's a distinction between
Ethnologist makes
anthropophagy,
its
the act of eating
mention.
human flesh, and like the ritualistic practice of cannibalism.
Wasn't there like a specific culture
You
where
learn
they
everything
would
every day.
wasn't there a specific culture where they would use the ashes of their loved ones and put it in like baked food, like bread, and eat it as like a way of like, isn't that like one of the rituals that I don't remember, but I remember reading something about that when it came to like
Something I do know is that there was an outbreak. There was a tribe that would eat their dead, and I don't remember where it was, but I know that they were eating like the brain, and they
yeah.
got prions from eating brains, and prions pretty much mad cow disease is a
Yeah,
prion.
yeah, I've heard of
And it
this.
would turn your brain into Swiss cheese, and it like infected a bunch of people in the tribe and stuff. So there's definitely like a lot of cultural consumption of human flesh, but a lot of it is more like consuming your dead relatives or your fallen, I
Yeah,
guess.
but I think they like take ashes and not actually eat an arm
Yeah,
or
yeah, right. They don't eat the brain or anything. Yeah, don't eat brains,
human
guys.
a human
Don't
drumstick.
eat brains. Don't eat brains. Don't eat any kind of brains, because
No brains,
prions
please.
are so scary. It's unreal. It's so scary. That's why cows used to get mad cow, because they would be fed other cow brains. So fucked up. So fucked up.
My cow does
And I
not
also
approve.
love that our podcast has gotten to cannibalism and brain eating.
Every
We
podcast
were
gets there
bound.
eventually.
I
We were
love
bound
it
to get
so
there. We
much.
were bound to get there.
We were bound to trip over cannibalism at some point.
It'll
Oh,
happen again, I'm
bound
sure.
to
It's not
happen.
the first time. It's gonna keep happening. Brains. Yeah, for sure.
Oh, that's so good. I love it. I love it here. So, where was I? So, archaeological discoveries referencing the urine have been found um, in like caves and things of the Shinonji forest. they found a cave that had one that was about 2,000 years old, the lantern, and it had a picture or depiction of a Yeren on it. So
Oh,
again, we see evidence of this being like an extremely old uh, bit of folklore and cryptid,
it could
story.
actually not be a
Um,
cryptid. It could actually be an ancient being. Like, it could be an ancient being back in the day, and it just died out.
yeah,
But
It could be aliens.
it could
it
be
could be
aliens.
aliens.
It could be
We have no
It could
idea.
always
aliens.
be aliens. Go fucking History Channel up in here, okay?
Right? It could
It's
be
always
aliens.
aliens.
It could
But
be
here we are.
aliens.
What if it's aliens?
Well, what if Sasquatches are actually aliens? And that's just what they actually look like.
There's actually theories that, okay, so we're deterring a little bit, but because this isn't necessarily with this specific type, but I know for a fact that with some in the U.S., sorry, my voice is kind of trying to give up on me.
Drink some water.
Hem,
Do some water drinking. Take care of that voice.
So, my allergies have been killing me, so. I know that there is some belief with the ones in the U.S. and like Maine and stuff that it's like a dimensional split or like tear in dimensions, that they're time travelers, again, interdimensional beings, and of course, aliens. Like,
Okay.
the range is all over the place for like
So you're
specifically like Bigfoot.
saying my me just having fun making a Bigfoot get abducted by aliens is pretty
Absolutely.
accurate? I'm
And
just
absolutely,
saying.
yeah.
It was just
Time
me.
travel, interdimensional slipping, and aliens are all on the table for Bigfoot. And that's part of the reason I love it. It's all on the table.
I mean,
So,
yeah.
because where did he come from?
Where
Where
did they
did he
go?
go?
I almost continued the rest of the song. I'm like,
I
no.
almost did. I was like, okay. So,
Alright. You were in the fact that they were mentioned in lanterns from back in the day. Just so you can find your notes.
oh yes, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So the eyewitness reports of the Yeren and Shunonji increased again during the 20th century, and that sparked popularity, like a lot of popularity. Like it blew up. People were very interested in it, and this was called Yeren fever. And now this prompted, I keep saying because I'm nervous, but this prompted multiple scientific groups to investigate the phenomenon and try to figure out, what the hell is this? The majority of the expeditions proved to, or went to disprove this. So what they wanted to do is they wanted to prove that it was not supernatural. They wanted to prove that it was that this ape man was like an unidentified animal or just misidentified, and that it
Misidentified gorilla
wasn't
or
some
ape.
big.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. They wanted to prove it wasn't some supernatural entity, because especially at the time, uh, the Chinese government was very much cracking down hard on like religion and superstitions. This was this time in China when this was happening, and they very much wanted to, for especially these rural areas that are very heavy with like what's the word I'm looking for, with their superstitions and their stories. He wanted to be like, I want to crack down on this. The Chinese government wanted to erase that. He wanted them to not be easily subjected to like stories, pretty much. He wanted to show that it was just science. It was just an animal. So in 1977, the Chinese Academia of Sciences funded an expedition to Shenonji to investigate and interview different eyewitnesses.
Ooh.
It was co-led by Go Jing, an anthropologist from the Beijing Museum of Natural History. The expedition involved members of the Chinese military, zoologists, biologists, and photographers. However, even with this big expedition with all these experts and, all this gear, they found no evidence.
Okay.
But it was later described that this expedition was largely counterproductive. It was too big, it disrupted wildlife, and it was, it would have scared away any urine if there was any, right? It was just too
Yeah.
disruptive. There's no way they were going to catch anything with this big ass. So in 1981, Another group called the China Wildman Research Society was formed. This group offered 500 or 5,000 won reward for any dead urine specimens and twice as much for any living specimen. And in 94, yet another organization, this one named Strange and Rare Animals Exploration, an investigation committee, what a fucking name.
It's a big name. It's
was
a
founded
mouthful.
to also investigate these. So it shows you that there's a huge scientific interest, right? But yet still at this point, there had been evidence found, but none of it was substantial.
Okay.
And in 95, they actually even did an expedition in Guangxi, China, and this resulted in a documentary on the Yeren. This included a U.S. anthropologist and cryptozoologist named Grover S. Prant. He wrote about the search for the wild man of China, is what it was called, and the author spent 17 days in the People's Republic of China with Japan Television Workshop, and this was a Japanese TV network, and they made the documentary together.
Okay.
There's no lack of media interest, right? Again, they had the documentary, they had multiple scientific expeditions, they had found hair, they had found bodies, they had casted footprints, all of this. And all of these alleged bodies, the hair, the footprints, all of it was tested and came back as animals. Previously known animals, hoaxes, human being DNA, it was nothing was ever found with all these scientific expeditions to prove that it's anything more than people, seeing things or making things up, etc.
Okay.
Now, this caused the popularity to plummet in the late 1980s. That really started killing off urine fever. The Chinese government kind of started focusing its scientists and groups elsewhere.
Yeah.
But it didn't stop everybody. There is still a lot of random groups. They aren't necessarily scientific groups, mostly like crypto, people that are into cryptos and things that still, they still want to go and try to find that scientific evidence needed to prove the existence. But there is one academic left, and his name is Jeffrey Meldrum, and he is an American.
Okay.
So, no evidence ever found, but again, even without the evidence, the scientific evidence to back it up, because I feel like that is a common theme with Bigfoots. It's just like they can't find that DNA, that little bit of just that little bit of science behind it.
Can't get a good quality picture.
But it's hard, right? But they can't disprove it necessarily because the amount of witness testimony and lore, right? Meow Mix ad break.
Yeah, there was an ad that rolled, and apparently she got a Meow Mix ad break. So from the
is it better than cannibalism? So, what is this creature, right? What is the Yeren? The Yeren. Now, like we touched before, almost any Bigfoot or Sasquatch or Yeti around the world, is unexplained, right?
Yeah.
We don't know what they are, where they come from, if they're real. But they're, they what's the word I'm looking for? They're broadly known, right? Again, I want to sidetrack and say, this is the only cryptid, the Bigfoot is the only cryptid I know that globally in every culture has some sort of lore, right? Everyone has their own Bigfoot, everyone has their own Sasquatch.
Yeah.
And they all have that very similar descriptors, big ass guy, hairy, big feet. A lot of them are territorial. Some of them, like you said earlier, they, have a history of grabbing people from villages and taking them with them and breeding and things like that. And it's just so weird that in so many cultures globally, there'd be such a shared, cryptid.
Yeah. I mean,
if there's not something behind it, right?
yeah, I mean, there's got to be a source where all these different places and other different cultures are mentioning the
Right.
existence of it. So there's got to be something that existed at some point that was
Exactly.
within this. It could have been, like I said, ancient beings back then that were scattered all over the world, that's just died out, or that's just evolved out to look more like us. So
That's
yeah.
exactly my thoughts. Like maybe it's some sort of creature that existed that went extinct. Something of that sort. And because there is no other cryptid that I can think of, at least off the top of my head, that is so widespread. Because even though they're called different things, they're all essentially the same creature, right?
Yeah.
Um, and I think that gives them more credence. I really do. Because even though eyewitness testimony isn't always solid, it's just there's too much. There's too many. It's just like with UFOs and things like that, which we won't get into that because aliens are a whole nother
We'll
rabbit
get
hole.
to
But
it.
it's,
We've already touched it
yeah,
twice. We'll get
I'm gonna
into it
say
even more. We'll get
they
aliens
always just
back in
come
here.
back around to aliens.
Yeah.
But it's just you don't see anything. You don't see a lot that have that same global effect, that same global wrap, where like everyone has their own Sasquatch or Bigfoot, and sometimes it's multiple in each country. Like the U.S. has a bunch of different types, right? Asia has a bunch of different types.
Yes.
There's so many. There's so many. Oh, will you show my next photo
You've got it.
or next photo? Photo here.
Did you want
I have a
just
little
the
thing that
4
says
by
photo
itself?
here.
Oh, here we go. This is the Bigfoot ones, the different Bigfoots
Yes,
around the world.
I wanted
Okay.
to show this one because I think this is a good, like, everyone can kind of get, like, if you're watching this at least, get a visual kind of idea of these different Bigfoots from around the world and how similar they are because they're crazy similar, right? Like, they're
Okay.
just so goddamn
I
similar.
love that this picture exists because part of my topic actually talks about the Ngoi Zung, which is the one. It's the third one on the third row. It's called the that's called the Ngoi Zung, and that is actually something that gets discussed in my topic too. So I think that it's really cool that it showed
Oh,
up here. So that's
I love that
awesome.
for us. But again, like, look at that. That's crazy that they all be so similar because, especially back in the day, information wasn't spread like it is now, right? It's not that
Hmm.
easily accessible. It'd be really, really hard for how old so many of these legends are for that story to just spread around, and that's why it exists, right? So,
Yeah, and
I don't
also
know. I
look,
think that
they
gives it
all
credence.
look so, they
So
all have
similar.
so many similarities
Take
that
a shot for every time I said
line
similar,
up.
and you'll pass out.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
seriously, it's just that they all have elongated arms, like they
Very
all have
ape-like, but
broad
they're
chests.
bipedal.
A
Hmm.
lot of them have like that the crown. I can't remember what it's called right now, but yeah, a lot of them have that specific crown or arch on their forehead. So yeah.
Oh, the brow ridge thing.
Dabari says, "I'm surprised you found my old family picture. I miss Auntie Sass."
Oh, fuck. Well, that's not very nice.
I mean, that's an insult to Dabari and Dabari himself and Dabari's family. So,
No, that's fair. So, but yeah, that I just think they're all. It gives it more credence to me that there's such stories globally, right? And they all look so alike. It's hard to just ignore. So, so, uh, there is three theories that are the most prevalent. There's more than three theories, of course. There's like a gajillion different theories on what a Yeren is. But there's three that are like the most prevalent, especially among like scientists and like any cryptozoologists who have some kind of like standing in the community. The first theory is the unknown species theory. Now, the unknown species theory argues that the Yeren is either an unknown species of orangutan or a Gigantopithecus, which was a type of ape that went extinct over 100,000 1,000 years ago.
Okay.
Now, if you show the next set of pictures for me.
You've got it. Do you want
Thank you,
both of
baby.
them? 5 and 6?
Yes. Yeah.
All right.
So this actually looks a lot like orangutan because it is pretty much an extinct giant orangutan. You see how it has like that face?
It's got,
Like
yeah, it's got,
that
yeah,
plate?
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, and the one on the right is a really good picture for size comparison of how big this thing was. The Gigantopithecus. And I'm like, when I see this, I'm like, wow, you know what? I could see it. You know what I mean? Like that.
Yeah.
That looks like it.
What kind of shampoo did they put on this, like, giant...
They zass him up.
Like, how... Look at his... Like, look at his hair. Look at his hair and tell me that that does not look like it was used in some, you know, some mane and tail shampoo. It's brushed so neat. Look at that.
He is absolutely stunning.
Oh
He
my
knows
God.
he's beautiful. His hair is beautiful. He knows. Real Fabio, vibes.
I mean, that hair on that model
Fabio?
is very much luscious. It's luscious and shiny. That's a very nice model for sure. That hair is stunning.
So shiny.
So shiny.
But yeah, that's the Gigantopithecus. And again, when I see that, I'm like, so I feel like that one, that really looks like a lot of the description, and it's fucking huge. But again, it's hard to prove that because, it's a huge creature. You'd think they would have, spotted it on, live, something like that, gotten some kind of evidence. It's argued, though, that both an unknown species of orangutan or the Gigantopithecus could survive or survived in China's remote forest, in like isolated pockets away from society. However, most scientists reject this idea. They reject the idea that the Yeren is an unknown animal or an unknown species or
an
an extinct
undiscovered species.
Yeah, because there is no fossil evidence. And there's been a lot of deforestation in the Shenonji forest, and this would make it very unlikely that a species, especially one so large, would remain, undiscovered. It would elude discovery. It's very unlikely. At least that's what most scientists believe. But again, some people do believe this theory because, you see what that Gigantopithecus looks like. It looks a lot like witness description.
Well, the other thing that I'm thinking of is like, okay, what if they also burrowed, like as a way to adjust to the like just a way to accommodate and survive? They might have had to go underground or something, like go through a cave and go underground and exist.
Exactly.
So they, species
that have
lasted for as old as the species is, it's clearly a species that is one that wants to survive, so it would adapt. And if I was a species and everything is getting removed, I would see myself adapting to going underground if possible. I just feel like that would be the next step to survive what is happening of everything getting removed, and so you go underground. That's just a thought.
No, I think that's a great theory because, again, like you said, caves. They are already said to live in caves. Cave systems are huge. There's, a lot of that forest has been picked through or like seen, but there's a lot of the Shenonji forest that is virgin forest or hasn't been, necessarily explored very well by humans. There's tons of cave systems that go deep underground. We have no idea. You know what I mean? Especially if they are very few, right? So I think it can't be necessarily ruled out, but I do see what they mean, at least for like fossil evidence. But it might not be the Gigantopithecus. It could be some type of orangutan or ape. So,
but my concern is, like you're saying, that some of them can't mate. So if they haven't been around to bonk men in the head to take them into their caves, they might have also died out.
Exactly. Yeah, that as well. They could have been around but aren't anymore. Yeah, absolutely.
Or who knows? They could be someone that lives for hundreds of years. We don't know.
Now, the second theory is the known species or misidentified animal theory. This is a much more like tame theory than a lot of the other ones, but it also has some of the more rationality behind it. Um, and that's that the Yeren is simply a misidentified known animal species. Eyewitness accounts of the Yeren are often inattentive to detail or inaccurate, as many of the sightings are not from like a close, like face-to-face range, or there was no clear line of sight. They're looking through binoculars, they're looking over hills, they're looking through the trees. People are also often easily like confused, especially like any kind of stressful situation, or if they're scared, like for instance, if they hear what they think is laughing in the middle of the woods, in the middle of the night, that kind of stuff. Again, nighttime makes it harder. And humans in general, in a lot of cryptid stories, a lot of stories in general are known to embellish and exaggerate their experiences, and this makes witness accounts very unreliable. Scientists also argue that it's far more likely that people are seeing animals that are known, but they are unfamiliar to that person. Like that person's never seen that animal before, so they're like, "Holy shit, that's a fucking creature," right? Like that's a monster. That's, oh my god, what is that? I've never seen something like that. Including like seeing bear species walking on two legs, because bears are known to walk on two legs a lot more often than people would think. And they also get things like mange, which can make them look very weird, very distressing. Uh, where was I? Let's see. I will say, however, there has been witnesses that are very, very familiar with the local animals and fauna. The wildlife, they understand it, they know, they've seen it, they've lived there their whole lives. And a good example of this was in 1995, there was a park ranger named Yao Hao Yuan, and he was in the forest, the Shenonji forest, and he was a park ranger. Okay, he's a park ranger with over 15 years experience at this time. And I would say with that kind of experience and being a park ranger, you're very familiar, right, with the
Yeah.
local wildlife and local plants. And he had observed a creature with his binoculars that looked like it was sleeping. So, he calls out like, "Hey, yo, wake up. What are you? Wake up." And it woke up. It stood up on two legs and just kind of looked at in his direction, but then walked away. And Juan said he wasn't sure it was a Yeren, but he had never seen a creature like that in all his years of being a park ranger. And he said it was really weird that it got up and walked away on two legs, and that he was damn sure that it wasn't a bear. So again, you come to the, well, is it just people, exaggerating, making things up, seeing things? Is it an animal they already know and they just are misidentifying it? But then you come again with people like a park ranger who's worked there at that time for 15 years already. I find it very unlikely that he would misidentify that. And again, he didn't say for sure that he thought it was a Yeren, right? But that he's like, I don't know what it was. So at minimum, it was something unidentified to him.
Okay.
So, a lot of these come down to, do we believe people? Don't we believe people? Right? Witnesses are always kind of flaky, so it's hard to rule out their accounts, but it's hard to take them at face value.
That's fair.
Now, the third theory, that is most popular at least, is the hairy European or the bearded man theory. Now, this theory argues that the origins of the Yeren root from ancient encounters, because again, we discussed this before, it goes back hella old. These are ancient encounters of the Chinese with Western foreigners, such as Europeans, who on average, especially then, tended to be much hairier, larger people.
That's a
Who
smidge.
were unfamiliar to these people, especially in rural areas. They'd never seen someone like that before. A lot of times they would have red or black hair. For example, anthropologist Frank E. Poirier was investigating the Yeren in the rural China Hubei province, and he himself was described as a Yeren by the local children because of his beard. As well as Grover Krantz, who we talked about earlier, did the documentary. He himself was over 6 foot tall with a large beard and was teased by the villagers when he went to go make the documentary in 1995 for being a urine because that's what he looked like to them. I think
Wow.
this theory, I think has a little bit more ground too because um, the whole like, oh, don't go into the forest, you're gonna get kidnapped. Europeans coming in, kidnapping people, not unheard of, right? Someone
Yeah.
sees a big hairy man grabbing a woman or whatever, and taking them supplies, stealing things, raiding.
Trauma also triggers, like, as a child, things like, I remember things being far more traumatic than once you re-look at it
Mm-hmm.
and you're just like, that person wasn't that big, that person, what, like, when you're traumatized or going through something that you're afraid, everything just seems way more
Right, bigger,
intense.
scarier,
Yeah.
crazy. Yeah, exactly, exactly. And I think that even goes for people that like, even if you're not a child, especially. So it's, I don't know, 800 BCE, and you're someone in rural China that sees this ginormous, super hairy, big bearded man kidnapping someone from your village, someone you love. You're gonna fucking probably freak out because
Oh,
you've
yeah.
never seen something like that in your life, right? They're probably wearing some crazy clothing to them, armor maybe even, or
Like,
maybe fur pelts. You know what I mean? From the cold. Who knows? So I actually
Baguette.
think you know
Baguette, you should say that. Baguette's been so
the
quiet, but
real Bigfoot was the colonist we met along the way. That's right, Bigfoot.
she's just quietly typing hilarious things in the chat. Oh,
They
God.
say I keep having to look between screens. I'm missing gold, Baguette, gold. I agree. I think the real Bigfoot was the colonist we met along the way. I completely agree. I mean, but that really does, like, it kind of makes sense. Like, it
Yeah.
kind of does. Like, like, it's hard for me to pick a
It's also
theory.
a smidge on the racist side. A smidge, but it was
Well,
800 BC. Whatever.
yeah, well, they had never seen them before. They're like, "Holy shit!" And to be fair, Europeans were coming in and just like
That's
just
fair.
ravaging
That's fair.
everything.
It's
So,
fair.
and I think that kind of explains the whole like, oh, they would come in and pillage and then leave, right? They would only come from the mountains to pillage. Maybe they were just seeing these group of people that they had never seen before. And actually, unfortunately, speaking of racism, there is more that goes into it. Now, I didn't touch too much on it because again, it's kind of fucked up. But there is a lot of racism within China itself, and there's like an indigenous people who some of them even had like a disorder where they would grow hair um all over their body. You've
Yeah.
probably seen it before. People that
Mhm.
have like it's like probably that's called lycopathy or something like that. Yeah. But there is definitely not for the Europeans, but there is a whole nother thing where it got pretty deep into where like some people were just being like racist after a certain time, saying, "Oh well, these group of people who are outliers and indigenous are like they're urine, because they look different, that kind of stuff." Yeah, for certain, for certain.
Okay.
Um, so I mean, it's crazy that I don't know which theory I would lean more towards. Probably the misidentified creature theory, like misidentified animal that we already know, maybe, or something that we thought was extinct, like we talked about before, living in the caves. Sorry, I live next to a train. Choo choo. I don't know how bad you guys can hear that.
All
Um,
I heard was
but you
burp,
also
burp,
have your
burp.
outlier theories. I'm sorry.
All I heard was burp, burp, burp. That was all I
Burp
heard.
burp.
Burp. Yep, that's all I
Burp
heard.
burp burp burp. Well,
Wasn't too
thank
bad.
God.
Mhm.
It's work. My mic is working the way it should.
Picking up sounds anywhere but my voice, like all the sounds
But me
around.
talking, and I can feel my eyeliner like sticking to my upper eyelid. I'm a disaster. This is a train wreck. Choo choo.
Woo, woo. Can I get
But
a woo woo instead of a woo
you was
ah?
like, can I get a choo choo?
Can I get a boop boop? I don't know. Oh God. Okay. We're
Oh, I need to make you do one of your sweet and spicy affirmations at some point.
oh yeah.
Anyway, just for funsies. Uh,
Funsies.
so there are other outlier theories, right? That aren't popular, like as popular as like scientists or like the most popular theories in general.
Hold
And
on,
these
hold on.
theories.
We've got a redemption. We've got a.
Oh,
Can I get a woo ah for the little muffle?
muffle.
The muffle.
I love
Carry
that that
on.
one's 420. Not that I would love that number for any particular reason.
Oh God! If you've ever paid attention to the channel points on my channel and what they all stand for, you'd be like, "Yep, makes sense.
I love it.
Makes sense."
But so a lot of these other theories are like, ones that are passed down through generations as folklore, and that is that the Yeren is a cryptid. He's a Bigfoot. He's a paranormal creature, and that's described in ancient lore, and that he's lurking out in the forest mountains of China. And now I have a couple more photos, if you don't mind, Daku.
You got
both
it,
of
baby.
them. But yeah, I mean,
Come on, go away.
there's.
There we go. I'm gonna show you one picture at a time.
Oh, that's fine.
All right, we're
So
gonna
these
do
are
the...
some of the castings
Yeah.
of the feet, of the alleged, footprints from the Shununji forest.
You would think that
If we ever do
being
this in just
something
audio.
like this, they would put like a measurement ruler right next to it just to give
Right.
you an idea of how
Yeah.
big it is. Because you're looking at it, I'm like, that looks like regular footprints. But put a ruler next to it and you'll be like, oh. But yeah, missed
So
opportunities.
for this one specifically, these were taken before modern casting like material. That's why they're really rough looking too, because there's new ways of casting now. But these are really old, and there might be some with like measurements. I'm assuming they had to have measured them somewhere and probably taking photos. But this was just one of the ones that I found in the collection.
I'd be curious.
But yeah, they're big. They're big ass feet, but again, these were considered a hoax. They said, we can't prove them. We're pretty sure this guy faked them, but it's with a lot of Bigfoot type of footprints. It's very debated. So whenever you're ready, dear, the next one.
You got it. Sorry, I had to pour myself some more wine because I drank on the one.
Drink all the wine.
I love this image. I love it so much.
Yeah, you like that?
I love it so freaking much.
So I included this one, and this is a statue of a female Yeren with its baby, and it's in the Shununji forest district in Hubei.
I can't help
and
it.
As you can see,
Did the baby urine all over?
Yeah. Yes. I was gonna say it.
Oh, Mothel would like to know.
Urinating.
Mothel would like to know if you actually happen to get the numbers of the foot size. Like, do you have an estimate of what they said the foot size were? It might be too far up in the notes, but.
Let me see here. I actually don't even know if I wrote that. I have to feel like they had to have said it somewhere. I'm actually surprised I don't have it. Yeren.
But I love this statue.
Because there wasn't too many. Here it is. So that's why I meant to actually get this to inches because it's in centimeters. So.
Oh, American measurement system. We like to be extra complicated.
Yeah, right. We love it. So they're at least 14 inches. Oh no, 15 inches in length. And let me see what center width is. And at least 5 to 7 inches in width.
So 15 inches
long
in length.
Yep.
And 5
to 7 inches in
5 to 7 inches wide.
Yes, about 6.6. It was the general consensus on the cast.
All right. Okay. Holy crap! That is a huge foot. That is a really big foot. Ha,
it's a big foot.
It?
It's a big
it's
foot,
a really big foot.
It's a big fucking foot.
Yeah.
That's a huge foot. So yeah, I don't know. I meant to actually put that in there. I don't know where my brain went, but thank
It's
you.
okay.
I had to translate anyway. I love that cup. I just noticed what cup you're using.
Oh yeah, it's isn't it gorgeous? It's got a
It's so
green
cute.
stem and it's a flower blossom, so it's like a flower shaped actual
That
wine
is so
glass.
cute.
I figured, might as well whip it out.
You might as well whip it out. I
Might
like
as
that.
I drink wine during these podcasts. I figured I might as well do a styly, cute little cup.
um. So, in conclusion, to be honest, I don't know where I find myself on this one. I tend to lean, I tend to lean more like skeptical to things.
Yeah.
I certainly, like I said before, lean towards the misidentified animal theory. Because I find it very, very likely that we find new animals all the time. Now, I think it's kind of a big creature or big animal to not have found, but doesn't mean that it's not possible, especially like we talked about earlier with all the cave systems and just how dense the forest is and stuff. Even with the deforestation that happened, even with the tourism, I feel like something could hide out there. If not, maybe someone was seeing like an escaped ape or something at some point. You know what I mean? People bring exotic pets to different places all the time, or like just random animals end up places. I don't, um, I find that to be more likely than like some like interdimensional Bigfoot or anything like that. But again, I really don't know because I think even if it is a Bigfoot, it's not paranormal. But again, it's an animal that we just don't know about or haven't identified. But I do find it very interesting again that there's such global sightings of these creatures
Yeah.
and that there's such a common theme between them, how they look, how they act. Um, Even if it isn't a Bigfoot or a cryptid, I think it shows at minimum how folklore can spread so far around the world and how each culture can have their own version. That's pretty much, and then that's pretty fascinating to me in itself. Just
Yeah.
how lore and cryptids and things are so global. Especially this one is just such like it's a global phenomenon, really, truly. But that is the Yeren.
Oh,
How
nice.
do you guys feel
I
about that
like
bad boy?
that.
What do you
I
think?
actually enjoyed that. It kind of fit within the same lines as a lot of the Bigfoot
Yeah,
things that I've
exactly.
read. They have
Yeah.
a lot of similarities for sure.
That's what I'm. Isn't it? It's so strange because again, you're worlds apart at that time, especially how old was this the age of this one?
Yeah.
Oh,
Thank you for
Phoenix,
that raid, Phoenix.
welcome,
Welcome in,
welcome.
welcome in. Phoenix was
But
a
yeah,
streamer that raided over to me when I was playing Baldur's Gate, and I actually
ooh,
raided out as soon as they raided
oh
into my
no,
channel. And so I
oh that's
said
such a
thank you
bitch.
to them when I found out, and I'm like, I'm so sorry I left her in that. So we're here. Welcome in, Phoenix. We're happy to have you here.
Welcome.
We're doing our podcast episode. This is usually, a gaming channel, but once a month we do a podcast called the Thick and Spooky Ghouls
Thick and spooky.
podcast. And today we're talking about Bigfoot-esque topics. We've got myself, Dakubara, and we've got the amazing and lovely Miso Thorny right next to me right here, who is also another streamer. And then this cute little cat right about here, this kitty right here, is my friend Mothcat, aka Baguette of Dicks, who is not a streamer, but
Good name.
she hangs out with us in our streams and stuff. But welcome in. Thank you for choosing me for that
You
raid.
know I have bad pronunciation. It's called a urine. Called a urine. It's what it's called. It's what it's called, Vulgar, you monster. He's like, the whole time I was studying. Okay, so I sat here, and as bad as my pronunciation is, I literally sat here studying. Okay, pronouncing the words. Baguette even heard me before I came on here trying to pronounce it, and even after that, he's just like, "Oh, it sounds like you're saying urine a lot. You're saying urine." I'm like, "I hate you." So like, I'm sitting here trying to study, and he's like, "Oh, urine."
12. All right.
Vulgar.
So that was the Yeren. We've
Yeren.
got, we're gonna do a quick little breather real quickly, you guys. Hang in.
Yes.
Welcome in, Raiders. For those of you guys who are new here, my name is Daku. I'm a variety streamer who sometimes cosplays for streams. Once a month, we do a podcast on this channel called The Thick and Spooky Ghouls, and we talk about some paranormal shit. I hope you guys enjoy your visit with us. We're gonna do a quick breaker while we transition over to the next person that's gonna be talking about their topic. And then I'm going to be closing the stream after that person. So we'll go ahead and run our ads so that we don't have any ad interruptions during Baguette's. Baguette and Miso, if you guys need to refill your drinks, go ahead and do that. Let's go ahead and roll the ad. We'll be right back in a few minutes, you guys. Just hang in there, all right? Just let us do some self-care stuff. We'll be right back after these ads so that we don't have any interruptions.
Intermission.
Yeah, we're having a I don't have intermission music. I'm sorry. I tried.
It was great.
Thanks. All right, here we go. We'll be right back, you guys. I'm gonna grab some water and get our throats cleared because we're gonna go on for more. So just give us a few minutes and we'll be right back.
I'm sick.
All right, let me go ahead and mute this for now.
Chair thing just for the podcast.
All right. Whew, we're getting there. We've got 48 seconds left before the ad is done. And then we're going to continue with Baguette. Baguette, your mic is currently muted, just to let you know. While we're doing that and while the ad is rolling, I'm going to go ahead and upload that picture over here so I have something for you for the presentation. So hold on, Baguette. But we are ready for you. Let's go ahead and get that picture in here for her so they can see what her topic is. We're almost done with the ad, everybody. We'll be right there. Thank you for being so patient.
I love that that's the picture up right now. It's just the pee and baby.
I love it so much too.
Urinating.
As I'm covering it with the next topic's picture now.
That's me in the morning. I tell you what. That's me before my coffee. I tell you what.
All right, let's get back into our party. Oh, what is happening here? Hold on. What just happened? I did stuff and I don't know what I did to fix it. Hold on, I messed it up. How did I change screens? What?
I say it looks like you're just capturing the wrong screen now.
I guess so. What is happening? I'm so sorry, guys. I don't know what is happening.
Inception.
What the hell happened to everything? Hold on,
Did
please
you
hold.
move your Discord to a different screen?
Oh, there we go. We're fine. We're fine,
I love
you
that
guys.
eyeshadow, by the way.
Oh, thank you. I actually
gorgeous.
used the Aurora Borealis palette that you used last time.
That is so good.
Yeah, I used that one today.
I guess I should use eyeshadow because I didn't put any eyeshadow on today, and my eyeliner is giving me the business.
I'm sorry. All right, so let's bring our attentions to the amazing Baguette of Dicks, aka the Moth Cat, right over here.
Baguette.
Hello, Baguette. It is your turn. Did she fall asleep? Baguette! Come back!
No, their mic's unmuted.
Oh, okay.
It muted and then came undone again. They're probably just trying to get their shit to...
All
There
right.
it is.
Okay, before we get started, Baguette, do like 1, 2, 3, 4. Everyone, please let us know if you can hear her just fine.
1, 2, 3, 4. We good?
Your
Yep.
She's a
Chad,
little low from what I can tell.
she's a little bit quiet, but I can't adjust her volume any higher. But I'll turn it up.
No.
I'll turn it up just. I'll turn it up for now for this one. So 1 second.
And it was working fine before.
It's just quiet. It's just quiet. Your mic's always quiet though, usually. So. Okay, let's try that one.
Okay, how about now?
Well, hopefully you guys can hear her just fine. I'm a little bit nervous about this, but we'll see what can happen. I try to turn her up as far as I can for today. And go.
My Bigfoot adjacent monster is the Missouri monster, or the MoMo for short.
Oh, Raven says you sound all right. All right, we're good to go. So, all right, so you said the Missouri
monster, or MoMo for short, because Missouri abbreviated is MO.
Okay, so Momo the monster from Missouri.
It's 7 feet tall and followed by a beastly smell. Like, witnesses could not describe the smell, is how bad it was.
Not the smell.
Like, some of the sightings was just people smelling something indescribably terrible. I mean, like, I think I saw the MoMo.
Yeah.
I think I smelled the MoMo.
You smell them before you see them is what's happening here.
Also followed by inhuman screams and bear-like growls.
Oh God.
So just a fun critter.
So sounds like a peach.
The first sighting was in July 1972. There were 2 young boys and their sister, like, playing by a creek at the edge of the woods, at the edge of town. And they smelled a terrible, terrible smell, and then they saw something, like, at the edge of the tree line, like, on the other side of the creek, and it was just, like huge, and, like, covered, like, its head was, like, pumpkin shaped, like the head was disproportionately large, and, like, hair completely covered its face so that all they could see was 2 glowing orange eyes, and it appeared to be, like, carrying a dead dog.
Oh,
no.
Poor puppy.
And that seems to be how it's described in most sightings, like, just clutching this, like, mutilated dog carcass.
It does. So wait a second. So it carries this dog carcass, like, universally when it's seen?
Yeah, it knows how to accessorize.
Oh my God.
Like a clutch on the red carpet, just
Dog clutch.
Yeah, like multiple sightings were had it carrying a dead dog.
Oh my God.
No one said it was the same dead dog, so, like, it might just be finding, like, a new dog every time it wants to be seen.
Right. Dope.
But there were several sightings that summer in 1972, and then it just kind of disappeared, and everyone stopped talking about it and got really embarrassed. They were like, yeah, it was probably mass hysteria and, like, a bear.
They probably ate something that they thought was edible and turned out to be peyote or something like that. Who knows?
Just
Yeah,
summer 1972 was wild. Everyone was like, I saw the MoMo.
No.
It was always seen, like, in an uncivilized part of the town, like, largely wooded area, like, near a body of water.
Okay.
Like, all up and down the Mississippi, but the first sighting was in Louisiana, Missouri.
Okay.
And that is where most of the documented sightings were.
Was it seen in kind of like backwoods areas? I'm assuming, like, really rural.
Yeah. Louisiana, Missouri is really rural.
Yeah.
Which is a hard word to say.
Yeah, I was like, Scooby doing it over here.
So some people caught fleeting glimpses of something huge in the woods that they couldn't like tell the definite shape of it, but also smelled like a putrid odor, and they're like, "It's the MoMo."
I smell that motherfucker.
The most
Smell him.
credible witness was a lifelong local, Richard Allen Murray, who had served as the town's fire chief, and he sat on the city council. So, like, he was taken seriously by the community. And he was driving home late one night along a creek that ran through the middle of town for some reason, and on the other side of the creek, his headlights illuminated a creature that quickly disappeared further into the trees. And he was like, "I think I saw it." Like the newspaper quoted him as saying, "I was amazed to see something. I thought it was a bunch of nonsense until I saw something."
Interesting. So, the story pretty much had already spread around town, and everybody's like, "Ha ha, you goofy fucking kids," you know, seeing seeing dogs being carried by bears, and they're tripping, and he's driving one night and sees it himself. So now
Yeah,
they have
everyone's like,
a more
oh,
credible
a couple
witness.
of kids saw like a bear mauling a
Right,
dog, and they were traumatized and made
right.
up this whole monster that
They
they saw.
exactly. But now it's a credible witness, so people were like, "Wait a minute,
Things got kind of crazy after that, and a bunch of would-be monster hunters came from out of town to try to hunt the creature down. They were like, oh, like everyone in this town is seeing it everywhere. Like, it's sticking around this town. Let's go find it. So Louisiana Police Chief Shelby Ward became concerned that these monster hunters would shoot each other by mistake because they all brought guns. Because
yeah, because of course they would. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it's
Of course,
a
of
real
course.
real yeehaw
Yeah,
part of the country.
yeah, 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 yeah. Very yeehaw. Yeah.
He thought it was just a black bear and mass hysteria, and he had hoped the animal had already left the area by then. So he went out there and like kind of watched the search party. They did not find anything.
Oh, wow.
Right.
So it had an enlarged, round, pumpkin-like head, big orange eyes, and it's about 7 feet tall.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Oh dear.
See, the height
There's some
is
people
what
who would
gets
swipe
me.
right on that just with that information alone.
I certainly might. The dead dog kind of kills it for me though. I'm like, ugh, dead
You're.
dogs. You killing dogs? I'm not into it.
I mean, what if
Lean
that's
towards the pass
yeah?
on that one.
That's their favorite meat. Clearly, it's their favorite choice of cuisine. From the sound of it,
It's
that it's
dog.
always carrying
Yeah,
a
they
dead
always have
dog.
dog. Yeah. You know what?
They did find someone found and took like a cast of some tracks in the woods, which they sent to the
They love doing
Oklahoma
that.
City Zoo. I guess that's the closest zoo because the middle of nowhere. And Lawrence Curtis, the director of the zoo, deemed that the tracks were that of an unknown primate.
Okay.
Ooh, okay.
But
So
I
it was
couldn't find
actually
any credible
analyzed.
sources for that, and there were like no pictures
Okay.
of the tracks or anything. Like everything about this monster is
It's
hearsay because
alleged. Yeah.
everyone decided that it was too embarrassing to talk about anymore. Like one of the websites I found was a Christian website that used
No.
Bible verses as proof that cryptids exist.
What? I want to know this website. You
That
gotta
is
send it
so
to me in a
fucking
message.
So that was
Missouri.
fun.
Oh my god, that's fantastic.
But like after a rash of like a few early sightings, like the encounters occurred less and less, and within a few years, everything had stopped altogether, and everyone was not talking about it anymore. And the town is shrinking. Like young people are moving away and not staying there.
Right. There's probably not like a lot of work and stuff, so.
And they did not manage to like turn it into a big phenomenon like Point Pleasant did with Mothman.
I was literally gonna say they should have embraced it and just went full fucking Mothman tourist trap.
They should have, but they did not.
Oh
Silly
man.
fucking bastard.
You know, I I haven't done any research on Mothman, but I'm hoping that one of us covers the Mothman in this podcast at some point. I'm really hoping, or one of our guests brings in the Mothman. I would love to hear about it
I love
sometime.
Mothman so much.
Everybody loves Mothman.
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 There was a movie in like 2019
Oh, 2019. I think you're talking about the other one.
No, there was a movie in about the MoMo in 2019.
Oh, okay, MoMo.
It is unwatchably bad. I'm sorry.
Wait,
I did not finish
Momo
it.
the Monster
Where
had a
can I watch this
movie?
movie?
Um, it is really hard to find a legal place you can watch it, but like yo ho yo ho.
Yo ho,
It
yo
was
ho.
directed by Seth Breedlove is their last name.
What a last name.
The
That's like your
hair-covered,
last name.
three-toed monstrosity was said to have prowled the forests of Star Hill near Louisiana, Missouri during the summer of 1972, where it was seen by terrified citizens for weeks.
For weeks.
4 weeks. That was it.
Weeks.
It wasn't even like a couple years. It was like it existed for this much time.
I love that. You must say. I love that the Yeren goes back to BCE, and this one's like a few weeks ago. There's this guy eating dogs by the river.
Like the best part of the movie was the framing device. They set it up like it was a documentary.
Okay. Like found footage.
Found footage,
Oh
but
my
like
God.
an unreleased like lost film from the 70s with like artificially aged footage, but it was very obviously like super modern. And like acting that makes like porn actors look like they should win Oscars. Like I definitely should have been high when I tried to watch it.
Oh, I'm probably gonna try and watch it. I'm probably gonna try and watch it, but I will take that into mind and make sure that I am high beforehand.
like last night you would have been in a good like space for it.
Damn it! Oh, all right. Well, I didn't want to get any spoilers. That's why I avoided looking it up after you said anything. I'm like, I don't want to look it up. I want to hear everything from Baguette. So I avoided looking anything up or watching anything about the topics. Whenever you guys tell me the topics, I'm just
I did like
no.
that the mockumentary like focused on the history of the town because it's like a disappearing town. So that was interesting.
Really? That's kind of creepy, but also kind of cool.
Not a whole lot about the monster, since there isn't a whole lot about the monster. It was in the town for a couple weeks.
Right. That's still very interesting though, how that just kind of like popped up and then.
I'm kind of sad we didn't get to see a picture of the cast footprints. I'm really sad about it. I would have loved to see
those might not be real.
They may not even exist.
I still would like to see it real or not, okay? I would like to see what people...
Show me them fake.
If it was fake, I would like to see what people decided to make it look like, you know? And
they could put a little more effort in, okay? They could have made some footprints.
They could have made it look like a dinosaur's foot. Who knows? So.
Yeah, that's the MoMo.
That's the MoMo? Oh, wow. You said your topic was short. Oh, God. Well, you know that means it's my turn, you guys. And you know what it means when it's my turn. We're going to roll an ad real quickly. We're going to do a quick 1 minute, 30-second ad real quickly. And I'm going to get my notes pulled up so we can start on the Minnesota Iceman. Oh, lordy.
Minnesota.
Yep.
Minnesota.
Hopefully you guys can still hear me just fine. I had to adjust some of the volume so you guys can hear Baguette a little more. I had to turn down Miso so she wasn't like loud over Baguette. I had to turn up Discord all the way. Then I had to like, are they louder than me now? So, I'm just making sure. All right, notes here. We've got an ad rolling for just a minute. I'm gonna go and pull up the notes here. Where do I don't even know where to put the notes, you guys. I don't know where to put the notes. I'm lost. Okay, here we go. We'll put it right over here. But I did show, if you guys want to see.
What I was trying. I was like,
Yeah, if you guys want to see a picture of MoMo again, I'm gonna go ahead and quickly give you guys a glimpse of MoMo real quickly, so you guys can appreciate. I'm kind of sad that the town's gone away, because imagine them making like a sports team that's, hi Raven, a sports team called MoMo the Monsters, or just MoMos.
They
like,
really could have leaned into it.
It's just like who was it? The Jersey Devils? Didn't they didn't they like capitalize on the cryptid and made it their sports team
Them
name?
and Mothman, yeah.
Yeah, so it's just like you guys.
I don't know if Mothman made like their sports team, but I know they really leaned into it. They have bakeries with the Mothman and shit like that. They should have really leaned into that shit.
I mean,
All
As
right.
well.
the East Coast is a little more densely populated than rural Missouri.
Yeah, a lot of people don't live there because there's just not work, right? You have to go where the
Yeah.
work is, so. But they could have leaned into it and the work could have came to them because of all the amazing tourism from the MoMo. I'm sure would have happened.
All right, you guys ready? My
People
topic
love the Mothman
is a
statue. They
little
go
bit
there.
long. So, are you guys ready? Buckle in. Buckle in.
Oh, I'm so ready.
That's
Oh
me
my
buckling
God.
in.
All
That
right.
looks like a roller coaster thing,
So,
right?
we are discussing the Minnesota Iceman. Is it a hoax or the missing link to evolution? We will find out. All right, so let's give you guys a story, as per Frank Hansen, of how he came into the clutches of the Minnesota Iceman. So this is published on Saga magazine about his actual encounter because you guys will find out. This place, the reason my notes are so crazy from this is because it was bonkers, you guys. It's bonkers. Like, you read it and you're like, oh, it was fake. And then you read it some more and you're like, no, it's not. It's real. And then you read it and you're like, it's fake. No, it's real. It was a ping pong match. It is insane. So this topic, I had to like look in so many different sources, pull up different sources, and put them all together in a way that makes sense for me to translate to you guys. This is the hardest I've ever worked on notes because of how bonkers this is, and some of the things that happen here because of our dear friend Frank Hansen. Some of it is, he's the reason why it is such a cluster, but at the same time, he's also the reason why it's become a legend. So, do with that as you may. You may not like Frank in the end. You may like Frank and then you may not respect him. You might think he was a stupid idiot. You might think he was highly intelligent, but it's gonna be a back and forth here. But I will say that because of Frank Hansen, this I think he was the reason why this to this day still has people either or. Every source you see on the internet, unless you do some really hard really hard research, it will tell you that it was a hoax. But once I tell you guys, maybe you might be just as confused as some others, or you might be convinced that it was real. All right, so this is he wrote like, oh my God, he wrote an article for Saga magazine about his encounter with the Minnesota Iceman, but like it was like 3 chapters. So I basically, this isn't word for word what was in his book. I took what I needed to take from it and put it in a micro size. So it is based off of his words, but changed to make it work because his was like 3 chapters of craziness, while this is just like it's me editing to the minimum. So as per Frank during in his Saga magazine interview, during the 1960s, during the deer hunting season, Frank Hansen decided to go hunting for deer. But he ended up finding something else. While hunting, he made eye contact with 2 big doe eyes, raised his rifle, and shot. After he raised the rifle, the deer didn't get the kill, didn't die, but ended up getting injured and running away. So, after he raised his rifle to shoot, he had to follow the blood trail left by the wounded deer. So, while following the tracks left by this wounded deer, he ended up just getting a little bit lost in the woods. Hansen followed the footprints and got to, and while following the footprints, he heard this gurgling sound. It sounded like blood forming in your throat, that like choking, gurgling sound, like something stuck in your throat. So it sounded like the deer was choking on its own blood. So he quietly approaches the sound, and when he looks, he saw 3 giant beasts. 2 were on the carcass of the deer, scooping up blood in their ginormous human-like hands and drinking the blood, while one youthful young male one was standing guard. So he saw these 2 these two Icemen two beasts, scooping up the blood and the intestines of this deer and eating it while one was standing guard. He ended up making eye contact with the male one who was sitting guard, and the creature unleashed a very loud, shrill roar and started to run towards Hansen. Hansen raised his rifle again and shot. He shot twice and started booking it. Don't know where he was going since he got lost here, but he just started booking it through the woods, hoping to God that he would not get caught by this massive beast. So after he shot and ran away, he ran and tripped and fell on the ground and basically admitted his fate, that he would get caught and killed by these beasts. After a few minutes, there was no sounds coming towards him, just the quiet woods. He sat up very, very confused. Let's see. Where he ran, he was very confused and lost, and he couldn't quite figure out how to find his way back. And unfortunately, the compass that he borrowed from his friend happened to be broken. So he was lost in the woods. In his fear of being lost in the woods, unsure where this creature is, unsure what the creature was it man, was it beast, was it a gorilla, was it a bear? I don't know, but I don't want to stick around and find out, right?
Right.
So,
yeah, fuck that.
While he's trying to find his way back to safety, towards the road, towards his truck, he shoots 3 rapid shots into the air, which is a signal to tell other hunters that there was a hunter that was in danger. And not too far from his, not too long after his shots, not too far from him, he hears 2 shots back in response. After a few minutes, the party closes in on him and finds him and helps him out towards the woods, teasing him about how he was very, they teased him and said he was a white man lost in the woods. In their words, I don't want to go that way, but So, Hansen was actually a person that's been in the military for over 15 years, and he was 5 years away from retiring from the military. And so with Hansen being so close to retirement, he wanted to talk about his encounter to figure out what it was and to discuss it with another human, and decided to keep his mouth shut. He couldn't risk losing his career or getting dishonorably discharged or getting his flight license taken away because he had gone mad. Yeah, so he decided to shut his mouth and not talk about the incident with anyone. So, since he was like 5 years away from retiring, he's just like, I can't risk it. I don't know what it was.
No, I don't blame him at all.
And he really didn't want to risk his, like, that was his career. Imagine giving up your career,
That close to retirement? Fuck that.
Yeah. So he decided to keep it down and drive home. But unfortunately, the constant fear of not knowing what he encountered, not knowing what he shot, not knowing what he could have killed. Was it a man in a ghillie suit? Was it a gorilla that was escaped from the zoo? Was it just an ape? Was it something else? Was it a bear? He had no idea, but with not knowing what it was, part of your brain starts to be like, if it was a human, did I just murder someone? Things like that comes through his head. So for almost a month after his encounter, he started to take a lot of pain medication to cope with his constant headaches, because this just consumed him. It just started to consume him at the fear of not knowing what it was and not knowing what he could have and could not have done. Did he murder someone? I couldn't imagine having that on my conscience. I really
feel like
couldn't.
You should go back, right? Like, you should go back and see, like, is there a body or...
Funny you should say that, because at the next snowfall, after the next snowfall, he decided it would be easier to track the creature down because of the snow being soft enough that he can follow footprints. So he decided to try and find where he was at when he encountered this beast and brought his trusty little sidekick, a dog named, let me see, I think his dog's name was Mike.
Mike.
Yeah. So after a month, so he grabbed his gear and brought his dog Mike and headed towards the woods. He searched and searched for familiar grounds and saw some things that kind of led him the general direction of where he was going. But after almost a day of just searching with a working compass, let's just clarify that he made sure it was stated that his compass this time around was working.
His compass worked,
because his compass didn't work last time, and he was I think he was a little bit salty about being teased by the people about his lack thereof hunting skills and lack their, feeling a little demasculated, maybe just a little bit from the fact that he was made fun of by these people. So he decided to just keep on searching, and when he decided that he was not going to find this, he decided today was not the day. And hello, Hero Sheen, welcome in. Hello, Papa Robbie, welcome in. Can we get a shout out for, do I have any of my moderators here or VIPs? Can we get a shout out for the amazing Hero Sheen, please, who rated us with 110 people yesterday like a madman and hung out with us for a little bit for community night. So welcome in, Hero Sheen. I'm happy to have you.
I don't know if I have any.
Yes, you do.
I'm VIP, so I thought I'd be able to.
My wife is all can do shout outs. Y'all have diamonds, y'all have rings, it's fine. So he decided to, head back and maybe try another time. While he was walking back, he noticed a very familiar clearing and kept walking and then tripped.
Of course.
So
classic.
He decided to figure out why he tripped. So upon seeing what tripped him, he moved over the snow and saw a frozen, ginormous creature.
Oh shit.
He saw it and realized this was the creature he shot and encountered over a month ago, perfectly preserved in ice.
Well, that's convenient.
Yeah, it was perfectly, and he realized that he had shot this creature in the eye and caused one of the eyes to pop out. So one of the eye sockets was blown out and the eyeball was on the side right there. So, and there was blood all over its face and fur and its chest covered from the wounds. And then he also shot it twice. He shot it once in the face and once in the stomach area.
Right.
So he decided, oh no, I don't know what this is. He looks like a human, but he also doesn't look like a human. He looks like a gorilla, but he doesn't, what is it? Is it some ancient being? I don't know. But what he does know is that the bullets stuck on this thing will lead back to him if anyone was to find the body and decide to, study the body and find pellets of, shotgun pellets on this body and bullets, they might be able to find their way back to the person that killed this possible human. So Frank couldn't have that. So Frank decided to go on this painstaking journey of dragging this frozen body covered in it was frozen. It's not covered in ice yet, but it was frozen, hard and stiff. And so he had to carry, and this thing's about 6 feet something. So imagine Frank having to pull this carcass that's about 6 feet high into out of the woods and into his vehicle. Imagine that. But at the same time, I think about how he was physically able to do that, but then after thinking about what serial killers are capable of doing because of the fear of getting caught,
right,
that they can, the human body can do some miraculous things when it is do or die, or if it means your life.
Do we know how big he is? Do we know how big Frank is?
I didn't really look up how tall Frank was.
Well, no,
I
I know
mean,
you didn't look at that. I didn't know if they mentioned like he was a big guy or like a little fella, but if he was also like had military experience, then
it would make sense, I guess. But
yeah,
no, I
that
don't
maybe
actually
he's
know
more
how
equipped
big
to.
or
Yeah,
tall Frank Hansen was, or not.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't actually know how any of that is. But so he lugged this giant carcass into his truck and headed home. Then he had to go and tell his wife what he had and told her, I cannot risk losing my job in the military. We cannot bury it. The snow is frozen. We need a place to store this body until I can give it a proper burial after the winter snow. So his wife Irene was very much upset of the fact that her
Right.
husband just brought this giant man-like frozen creature that he had shot into
Into
their
their
home.
house.
It took a little convincing, and she decided, well, we can just go ahead and put it in the new meat freezer that we got. And so what they did is they took out all the meat and shoved this body inside of this freezer that they had, this meat freezer that they had in their basement. And they couldn't quite fit it, so they actually had to move one of the arms and readjust the arms to make it fit. And because of whether it was frozen or if it's what is the word that happens when your body after you die?
Decomposition?
No, when it stiffens after you die.
Oh, rigor mortis.
They don't if it was rigor mortis or if he's frozen, but they actually had to like break it and snap it to be able to fit it in this thing. So they managed to fit it in the freezer and decided to tell the kids they're not allowed to use the freezer. And Hansen eventually got a lock for the freezer, that he was the only one that had a key to this freezer. So
Like
he
a
brought this
Goosebumps
body
story.
home. Him and his wife decided to shove it in a freezer, put it in the basement, and bury it after winter. So,
Because what else are you supposed to do?
I
It's
know,
literally like
right?
a Goosebumps story. Like, don't go in the freezer.
Right? And so they locked it up in the basement, and after a bit of time, let's see, how long was it? After a bit of time, Hansen decided to figure out what exactly it was that he shot. So he decided to go downstairs in this freezer that they've become accustomed to having it there, having the carcass there, just having it there. They've just gotten used to it being there. And so
Right.
he decided to go
That's so
down.
fucking weird. That's such a weird thing to get used to. Like, oh, it's just a body, you know.
It's just a body
That's
in
all
our.
we know. It's a person.
I mean, if you think about it, being someone's military wife, adjustment is something that you have to be able to do. You have to be able to adjust because you will have your husband there at one point, and another point they might be sent off overseas and you won't see them for a year or something like that, you know? So you had to, like, to be a wife of someone in the military, you have to constantly be able to adjust, adapt, and keep going. It's just how it is.
Yeah, but I feel like that's different compared to like, oh well, there's a corpse next to my frozen corn dogs. You know, just
I know,
right there in the
but
freezer next to the.
if it also means that your husband could possibly go to jail, you could
That's true.
possibly,
Yeah, it's a
you
big
know,
motivator.
you
Absolutely.
know,
Your
like
family
your
gets
your
fucked up.
partner in life did
Mhm.
something, and you could possibly lose that partner that you've gotten so accustomed to in your marriage, and you have 2 kids with this person.
Right.
You know,
Absolutely.
you're just like, I need to figure out a way of surviving, and the only way to survive is to help my partner out in sickness and
Right.
health and murder and not, you know,
Murder.
no, depends on whatever your vows are, but you know. So after about, not even quite a month, but almost a month, he decided to go downstairs and look at this body in the freezer and figure out exactly what it is, because he really had no idea. And so when he came down to the freezer and opened it, he realized that the body, the meat on the body, started to get dehydrated, and it started to look like beef jerky. Sasquatch jerky, Bigfoot
Squatch
jerky.
yeah.
So it
Squatch
started
jerky.
to dehydrate, and the smell of decay was unbearable.
Oh,
So
no.
he had to bring this up to his wife, and his wife decided, well, you know how we saved the salmon from this time? Why don't we just dump a bunch of water in this freezer little by little, and let it freeze and just freeze this body in ice.
I was gonna make a popsicle out of them.
Yep, so they started to pour water in this freezer. It took some time for them to pour water in this freezer. It took several days because they did it in like waves so that it would freeze, because the water,
Right.
it needs to freeze before you can add more
a lot of
water, because
yeah.
so they had to like slowly add like 20 gallons of water at a time to this freezer so that they can freeze this body in ice. So not long after that, Hansen was really stressed out about this situation and decided that it was time for them to start preparing for retirement and buy a home somewhere far, far away. Hold on, let me go ahead, because I put details in here from the story that I'm just like, we don't need any of that. We just don't need to do that. So
it's always so hard to know. You know what I mean? Because like I was worried about mine being like dull because there's so much history stuff. I'm like, do I need to put all this historical? Like, how much of this? How much
you
do I
gotta
need to
edit.
put in
You
here?
know, you edit your notes and then you gotta edit while you present it. It's
edit
just,
your edit.
edit your edit to make it more tangible. So, the thing with Frank is he realized that even after winter, they would have to thaw out this body completely for him to bury it, because you cannot bury ice and expect because of the frozen ice around it, it won't get like proper burial, so it won't pack the dirt properly, because you're going to have all this gap of where the ice was, right? So with that in mind, he didn't want his neighbors watching him dig up this grave, and that's when they decided it was time to buy their home a lot sooner than what they were planning in the future. Since he was going to retire in like 5 years, they're just like, we'll buy the house closer to the time. He's like, we'll have to do that now because of this situation. So they actually kept that body inside of the freezer for about a year, frozen in ice. And so they ended up buying a farm near Rollingswood Town, Minnesota, and they decided to get their move there, and he was just going to commute from their new home to work until he retired. He figured that would be easier. So he actually couldn't risk a moving company, to help them in case, and so he actually had to rent a U-Haul truck and load this truck all by himself with all his furniture. But the problem is loading this freezer full of frozen water and a dead body inside of it. So
probably heavy as hell.
He had to have his neighbors help him load this meat freezer in the U-Haul truck. And a lot of them were like, why on earth didn't you just empty the freezer out and just like transport it when it's empty so it's easier to transport? And Frank said, oh, he wanted to keep the meat inside of the freezer fresh, and so he decided to keep it sealed, and because there's ice in there, it'll be fine for their hour drive to wherever. So they loaded it into the U-Haul.
Got a body in there?
And the thing with him is like, I could bury this body somewhere else, like within the air, but he had this constant fear that he would get caught. Like, he was afraid that if he was driving to the place that he planned to bury this body, he would get into an accident and that the body would get launched out of the car and then it would hit, like, it would be discovered by everyone because of the accident. Like, his brain was on overdrive on all the terrible possibilities of, like, being caught with this thing.
Right.
So they moved over to their farm. He commuted and then ended up retiring. So after a couple years passed, Frank was able to retire from the military after 20 years of service. And he was, excited about getting retired, but after some time being retired, he realized it was really, really boring being retired and not doing anything because he was so used to working. So in his boredom, he did research on the abominable snowmans.
Yeah.
And he then discovered Bigfoot. He never heard of these topics beforehand until this. And in his research, he's like, wait, do I have a Bigfoot? Did I shoot a Bigfoot? Is that what's in my freezer? Is a Bigfoot? So he decided, well, there's a possibility of that. He also did some research on like how much time can pass before you can't be convicted of a murder in his state. And apparently there is no time limit of that sorts for this state. So he's just like, well, that's not great. So basically his friend,
statute limitations.
Yeah, so his friend's like, if you're so bored with your life, why don't you go back and start showing your ancient John Deere tractor to all the circuits that you used to show. You have this very old John Deere tractor that you had. You had the oldest John Deere tractor ever, and you were like you were showing it in different places. Why don't you just go back and do that? In the carnival circuit, in the fair circuit. So Frank was all like, yeah, I could do that. But do you think people would be interested in an exhibit of like an ancient human being of some sorts? And his friend's like, yeah, that'd probably be really, really popular around the carnival circuit. Yeah, I think that like if you have anything like that, yeah, if you can make it happen, do it. So Hansen was like, I have an idea on what I can do with this. You know what's a great way to do it? I can go back to showing this, but I can show this attraction that no one's ever seen before. I don't know what it is. No one knows what it is. We can show this thing to all these people and be an attraction for this. And it's also a way to hide a body in plain sight.
Right.
All right. No one's going to be suspicious of a body being hidden in plain sight, right? No one. What? Anyways,
it's probably not a person.
So Hansen decided to speak to his lawyer about his idea. And his lawyer told him, if you had anything like that, that would be absolutely amazing. But it would be a very big scientific discovery that will draw a lot of attention. Because if you're saying this is an ancient human being or the link of evolution, you are going to bring the attention of the scientific community and whatever comes with the scientific community, aka, cops, all that jazz. And
investigation.
So, upon his lawyer's advice, his lawyer said, what you can do. Oh, he also, the lawyer didn't believe him that this was real. And so he actually went as far as taking the lawyer to the body in his barn where he's been keeping it in his farm and showed him this body. And the guy was like, okay. So this is a real thing. So upon his lawyer's advice, his lawyer decided that if he's going to be transporting this from state to state, it would be good to have some documentation on this being a fake model or a fake attraction. You need to have a trail that that will lead to this being something that was
not
made.
Person. Yeah,
you need
not
to
a murder.
You need to leave a trail for people to follow. So with that being said, Hansen decided to go to Hollywood and speak to, hold on, what were the names that he spoke to? All right, hold on. Yeah, so his lawyer suggested that he commission a fake to be made so he would have some documentation of this creature being created in case he gets into some hot water, right? So so let me give you guys a description of the Minnesota Iceman. Okay.
Minnesota.
One eye is missing from the gunshot. It's completely covered in blood. The beast had hair covering its entire body except for it covered his neck, shoulders, back, stomach, and it was covered in reddish brown fur.
Reddish brown again.
Reddish brown fur. And the only places that didn't have hair was its face, its hands, and its So like its face and hands were human-like, but everywhere else in the body had this brown reddish fur all over. Um, the hands, if Hansen put his hands against it, the hands were 2 times larger than his own hand, about 10 inches tall and 4.7 inches wide.
Okay, damn.
Yeah. Its feet were about 10 inches in length and 6 inches in width, and it was over 6 feet tall. It had hairy, dark brown hair. It was barrel chested. It had an upturned nose, of a prominent eyebrow ridges, a sagittal crest, and a very thick neck, and then the very large hands and feet. One
Right.
of the left arm was over its head, like covering it where he got shot. And then the other arm was on his belly groin area, covering his wound on his groin area, also like his penis, which
Aw.
apparently is not
Sad.
human like, but more ape like in structure.
Okay.
All right, so with the description of the Iceman, hello, Vega. Can we get a shout out for my husbando, please?
Sure.
All right, so this is the creation of the model. Hansen sketched up the Iceman and went to Hollywood and spoke with the people who made models for the movie industry and spoke to Bud Westmore, the director of makeup at Universal Studios. He approached them about the possibility of making a model of the Iceman based on the pictures that he brought and the cost it would be to make such a model. And the and Bud Westmore suggested, yeah, I have these people that can do this for you. I can't do it for you, but I'm going to tell you it's going to be maybe 20 grand or more to make this model. So he told him about a company, and so yeah, he hired Howard Ball, who was in charge of creating life-size fiberglass elephants or mammoths for the La Brea tar pits. So he hired this person to make a fiberglass part of the model. Then after that, he approached John Chambers, who was a makeup artist. No, sorry. He didn't approach. Yeah, he approached John Chambers, who was a makeup artist, who suggested he go to this wax studio in Los Angeles, and about adding the hair details on this thing. So one made the fiberglass base, and then they had to hire a different artist to it, like to give it its fur.
Right, to add the details.
That to add the details. So he went to this wax museum in Los Angeles, and he had the hair added, and it was actually the details were added by by a husband wife pair called Pete and Betty Corral, and they're the ones that individually added the hairs to this creation.
That's cute,
right.
though.
Yeah.
Power couple.
And then January 1967, the model of the Minnesota, because he had to also commission a coffin-like freezer for the Minnesota Iceman to be shown. So this, the way it is, it wasn't fully frozen in ice. It actually is very much like Han Solo in Star Wars, where part of him is frozen and parts of it is out. So like the foot was out and parts of the Minnesota Iceman was out, but the rest was inside of the ice. And so this wasn't actually shown in the places standing up. It was actually flat on the ground, well, on the coffin freezer. And people would walk around the freezer to look down at it lying down. And that's how they would see it. They wouldn't see the back of it. They only saw the front of it. And they would walk around this giant freezer inside of this trailer to like check out the Iceman. And it's like a cold room. It's a frozen freezer for this thing, and they would go inside of the root of the trailer, because he had it in a trailer. He had a trailer that was like in the middle of the trailer would be the Minnesota Iceman's coffin and the Iceman itself, and people would pay 25 cents to go in there and walk around and look at the Minnesota Iceman. And that's how he would show it in fairs. He would show it in carnivals. He would pull up to some random freaking parking lot and be like, "Hey, I'm gonna show this here.
You
If
want to
that's
see a
okay."
dead body?
Yeah.
You can't want to see a body?
All right, so it was made in 1967 and frozen in ice in the new coffin that it made. And then in 1967, May 3rd, it did its very first debut. It was shown in Los Banos, and yeah, it was shown in that circuit for a while, and people found it interesting. And then a lot of the people, like the carnival people that he would be like, "Oh, we know it's fake. We can tell it's fake, this and that." Like, because it was a successful year. It did draw a lot of attention. There was a lot of people that were coming in to look at the model and stuff like that. And, you know, he made a lot of money from it, and it was a successful year, right? But then his fellow carnival folk basically told him, "Oh, we know it's fake. We can tell it's fake because, like, parts of it's in like is not anatomically correct." And I'm like, how would you know what is an anatomically correct when it comes to this creature? Like, how would you know if it was or wasn't anatomically correct? But yeah, so a lot of them are like, "Oh, we know it's fake. We knew it was fake the entire time. We know it's fake." So in 1968, after a year of showing this, um in March 1968, Hansen decided to switch the model with the actual Minnesota Iceman. And so, as of 1968, he was showing the real Iceman. Oh, you guys! Thank you for the raid! Welcome in, Rose Colored Gaming. I appreciate you choosing me for your raid. Hi, everyone. My name is Zaku. I'm a variety streamer who sometimes cosplays for streams. You guys are stopping in during the Thick and Spooky Ghouls podcast, episode 4. And we've got the amazing Miso Thorny right next to me right here. We've got Mothcat right over here, which is Baguette of Dix. Her model is in the middle of us. And we're talking about the Minnesota Iceman. You guys missed on Momo the Monster and the Yeren. But you guys can watch the VOD before. But we're in the start of the Minnesota Iceman. Welcome in, you guys. I hope you enjoy your stay. I hope you guys enjoy the podcast. I appreciate you so much for choosing me for your raid, Rose. Seriously, that is fantastic. Thank you. All right, so let's go ahead and pull up my notes again. I appreciate you so much. Did we get a shout out for her? Did I shout out her? Did I shoot her? I did. Yeah. Okay, thank you. All right, so as of March 1968, the real body was shown in the circuit. And in 1968, showing of the Iceman became the biggest hit of all the fairs that it would partake in, and it drew a lot of attention. It was the most successful year that they had ever seen in showing anything in the carnival circuit.
Wow, people really want to see a body, man.
Oh, people really wanted to see this ancient being. He called it, okay, before it was called the Minnesota Iceman, he called it, oh my God, I forgot to tell you guys the story that he made up for this. I'll tell you guys once we get there. The stories that he made up for the lore of the Minnesota Iceman. But he called it many different things. Like, first they called it Bozo, but then they felt like that was a little less formal, so they didn't call it Bozo anymore. But they would said ancient being or creature, Siberian something, Iceman or something like that. He had different names for this thing, but it eventually became known as the Minnesota Iceman.
The Iceman.
Okay, but yeah, so the thing about his show in 1968, it was drawing a lot of attention, but it was definitely drawing a lot of attention in the college students and professors of different universities, and even scientists started to visit this exhibit because they're like, this looks real. Is this the missing link? And from the stories he would tell about the lore of this, it really started to make people think. No, this is a cryptid. The Minnesota Iceman is a cryptid, aka one that existed for a while and resurfaced not too long ago. But yeah, it is a cryptid is what it is. It's in the cryptid category.
and our podcast is it's just paranormal topics. We just pick ones that we like and we talk about them. We share our thoughts on them, like how we feel personally, that kind of stuff. So we're just talking about that spooky shit.
Yeah, we're just talking about spooky shit, but this is a cryptid, and it's not just any cryptid, because I will tell you guys that this thing created a ruckus. I must say, a ruckus for sure in the scientific community. So, it was visited by many college students, professors, even scientists visited. One of them was a surgeon who actually visited the Iceman 9 times. He was just, he was obsessed with it. He visited 9 times.
Right.
And so the buzz that was going around was that it was an ancient being. It looked like the real, genuine missing link of our evolution. So this is when it started to get too much attention, actually.
Right.
How can a cryptid get too much attention? Well, if you hear what happened in the very beginning, you'd know why. It's scary to start getting a lot of attention, which his lawyers did warn him. I'm all like, you are going to be showing an ancient being.
I don't know what he was expecting.
And so when he was doing a show in Chicago, there was a student named Terry Cullen, a naturalist, who went to study the Iceman and noticed the dislodged eyeball, the bone that was sticking out from where they broke it, from where they were trying to put it in the freezer. And his conclusion was, this was a real body inside of ice. After doing some close lookups to these, and to make things worse, it's stuck in ice, so parts of it you can see clearly, but parts of it is hidden by milky ice, so it was really hard to see it because of it. So
a real good view of it.
So yeah, he basically decided this could possibly be a real ancient being. It could be Bigfoot. It could be, someone like the evolutionary step that we're missing. So Terry reached out to the scientific community, which didn't take him seriously, but he even reached out to a couple people, and these people were then interested. And these people are not small names. The first person that he managed to contact and get the interest on is Ivan T. Sanderson. Ivan T. Sanderson. And, of course, the other one was Bernard Hoovelman. Why are these two names important? If you're really into cryptozoology, you will know that those two names are the godfather of cryptozoology. They are the ones that actually, made cryptozoology a topic that was seriously discussed in the scientific community. They made a category to study cryptozoology, and they are the godfathers of them. And each one of these people produced many books, published many books about any of the ancient beings, any of the cryptids that were being discussed all over the place. They had books published about that, and they were both heavily invested in Bigfoot. Both of them were heavily invested in Bigfoot, and they knew each other because they were in the same field, and they respected each other's works. So Ivan T. Sanderson, he wrote a book about the abominable snowman, and Bernard Hoovelman had a bunch of other published works as well. So before we get into that, the origin story that Sanderson told everybody that would come and see the show of the Minnesota Iceman was, it was a body that was found floating off the Kamchatka, trapped in ice, and was found by some Soviet trollers where they thought it was a seal frozen in ice. They started to thaw out the ice and realized that this was no seal. With the fact that it was possibly the remains of a human, the trawler was forced to go into the Chinese port, which the body was then confiscated by the authorities, and it resurfaced as a contraband item in Hong Kong. There was a rich man who found it and wanted to own something unique and was invested in the Bigfoot genre, who ended up purchasing this creature and had no idea how to care for it, and decided to hire a friend of theirs named Frank Hansen. Frank Hansen never mentioned who this very rich person is, but he often referred to himself as the agent for the Minnesota Iceman and for the owner of the Minnesota Iceman. It wasn't his Iceman, he was just responsible for showing and caring for this ancient being. Yeah, he was just watching it for a friend, right?
He's just watching it for a friend. It's time.
He never mentioned the name of the rich benefactor, but but a lot of people think they know who it is. I don't remember the name that they selected for it, but he's a person that's really into cryptozoology, and there's a lot of evidence that proves that he might possibly be the rich benefactor that was that actually owned the Iceman. So, Ivan T. Sanderson and Bernard Hoovelman reached out to Frank to express their interest in studying the Iceman, which Hansen allowed them. Hansen allowed them access to the Minnesota Iceman for 3 days. So in the 3 days, they studied this creature in ice. And so they had to have lights and study this in the ice, so they would look at it really closely to try and see what they can get for information on this creature. And in the 3 days that they did that, one of them put a light a little too close to the ice, and it melted the ice near the foot that was sticking out. And when the ice melted on the foot of the Minnesota Iceman was exposed, as well as the room filling with the smell of decaying flesh.
Which is a gross smell.
It's a great smell.
Yeah, so because they had these lights, and these are old lights, because this was in 1967, 68. They didn't have our lights nowadays. They had the hot lights. So they were trying to get into that to get more information on this creature that's frozen in ice that they didn't want to disturb. And one of the lamps was just close enough that the heat melted the ice on the exposed foot that was just covered in some ice. And like I said, the smell of flesh, decay, and all that stuff just filled the room.
Oh, no.
Which made them even more convinced that this is not a fake. This is definitely a real body in this ice, right? So it was the stench of rotting flesh that escaped from the exposed part, and they took their notes, and without telling Hansen, they decided to publish their findings on the Minnesota Iceman. So Bernard Hoovelman and Ivan Sanderson proposed in 1967 that there be a scientific name for this specific creature, and they gave it the scientific name. It is known scientifically as Homo pongoides. Homo pongoides, and it is a connector to human evolution from ape to man. So yeah.
Gotcha.
So they So after they did research on the frozen man, they dubbed it Homo pongoides and gave it its scientific name because they believed it to be a real, genuine link. So the big names that were involved with the Minnesota Iceman. Okay, the godfathers of cryptozoology. The study of cryptozoology was originally founded in the 1950s by zoologists Bernard Hoovelman and Ivan T. Sanderson, these two people. Bernard Hoovelman was a Belgian. Yeah, that's why I said it was crazy.
They are the godfathers.
And it's not these are not stupid men. If you really think about it, they're big, respected names in the scientific community. And for them to look at this body and study it for 3 days and to be convinced that it is real, it can't be they cannot be easily fooled. A lot of people say, oh, they were fooled. But at the same time, these are not stupid people. These are highly intelligent people.
They're not.
So if a fake was to fool them and make them believe that it was real, it had to be a really,
Really good
really,
fake,
really
yeah.
convincing fake. And please keep in mind, this was in 1967, 1968. It is not nowadays where we have special effects that will blow us out the water, you guys. This was
Right.
back in the time. Back in the time.
It
You
was
know, I'm
very
just saying.
limited of what they could like hoax wise at least,
Yeah.
make.
So Bernard Heuvelman is a Belgian zoologist, and Ivan T. Sanderson was a Scottish zoologist. They both published many books relating to cryptozoology, which laid the stepping stones for cryptozoology. Cryptozoology is the study of hidden animals such as the Yeti, the Loch Ness monster, Bigfoot, the chupacabra, and so much more. All right, so Ivan T. Sanderson, interestingly enough, was actually the first person to bring live animals to talk shows, and he was actually known as the Animal Man. So he went into like TV shows and brought
Right.
live animals and talked about these live animals in their show. And he was the
Oh.
first one to create that. Like, now it's commonly like animals are brought into the show
Right.
where you've got a snake that's there to scare Kevin Hart in the Jimmy Fallon show now. Now it's
Yeah,
so
yeah.
common, but to think of Ivan T. Sanderson being the first one to actually like do this on
Coin the idea. Yeah.
so it's not like he's someone to snicker at. Do you know what I mean?
Right. Absolutely.
All right, so he was known as the Animal Man because he's the one that brought animals to the live TV show to the live TV shows and audiences and stuff like that, which I thought was really, really cool.
Yeah, that's really neat. Yeah, because I remember when I was growing up, you'd watch like Maury or Jerry Springer, or just like one of those random shows, and they would have like a day where they bring on like random ass like baby tiger and shit like that. So
Yeah, and now it's like a common thing. I love it so much.
yeah.
And then because of the fact that Ivan T. Sanderson and Bernard Heuvelman expressed a great interest in the Minnesota Iceman and even offered Hansen a large sum of money to buy this from him, and Sanderson clearly telling them, no, it is not for sale. The owner
Right.
of this wanted to own something unique that no one else had, and they will not let go of this for any money of any sorts. And because of him rejecting it, there was actually like a huge thing that started happening that for them, like they tried to like basically get the body by telling the police that he was showing a dead body of a possible human being, which got the police involved, and the police started to actually harass Frank Hansen, and even went to his property on numerous occasions to try and search. So,
Right.
because of the fact that he rejected their offer, it got to the point that they decided to escalate it and try and get
They're
police
like, hey,
force
this guy's
involved
got
in
a
it.
corpse.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it got to the point where I'm just like, are you, like, yeah, And so, because of their interests, the Smithsonian decided that they were interested in sending their people to study the Minnesota Iceman. There was
So I kind of
also,
find it crazy. Oh, sorry.
yeah, no, what were you saying?
I was gonna say it's. I do think it's crazy that he isn't sure. Like he's pretty sure it's not a person, but he's not 100% that it's not a person. That's why he's worried, about the cops and stuff. But he's like, even though I don't know if it's a person or not, I'm gonna make sure he's prominently displayed so I can,
Well, the
you
thing
know,
with that is he
uh,
was making a lot of
lot of money.
money showing this thing. So for him, this was his livelihood after he retired from the military.
Right.
So for him, he wasn't willing to give up something that he made such a large amount of money on a year-to-year basis. So his plan was to show the Iceman as long as he possibly could, and after he was unable to keep it healthy and keep it like preserved, then he would donate it to science. That was his original plan, was he was going to get as much money out of showing the Minnesota Iceman, and after he gets all his money showing the Minnesota Iceman, he will then give it to science for science to take care of and for science to study. But he wanted to get his piece of pie first, you know? He wanted his slice first.
Was he still worried that it was like a human being? Or was he just
At
worried
this
about
time,
the money
he was convinced. At this time, he was convinced it was of a Bigfoot-esque nature.
Okay, so that makes more sense to me. Then.
Yeah, at the time, he was no longer convinced it was human.
Right.
He was convinced that it was possibly Bigfoot, the long lost Bigfoot. So for him, his mind had already told him it's that. It's the only thing that makes logical sense because he doesn't look human, he doesn't look animal, he doesn't look like either or, he looks like in between. So for him, his brain logically finally was like,
right, and then all these scientists and stuff start coming around, and it kind of really enforces like.
And I think that's why, even though he was afraid of the discovery, I think that's why he allowed Bernard and Ivan to study the body, is because he himself was also curious on what they would say and what their findings were. I really think that's why, because with how worried he was about getting caught, I truly believe he also wanted to know, and it's why he allowed them to look at this body, even though it was a risky thing to do. All right, are you guys still with me? You guys still awake? Hopefully.
Oh, yeah.
All right, there was also Professor Muriel of the Anthropology Department of the University of Minnesota who examined the Iceman and was impressed, and he offered Frank a lot of money to purchase it for the university so that he can have it as something that they would keep in the university as a unique thing for the university and for the students to study in the university. And Frank also denies his offer and says that the owner has no plan in parting ways with the Iceman. All right, so he's still continuing to show this. There's articles being published about this and all that stuff. And there's a lot of people that actually looked at the Iceman the first time and the second time. And a lot of the people that looked at him like, that's not the same one that I saw. That is not what I saw before. And a lot of the things that they mentioned is the first one wasn't as grotesque, wasn't as bloody, wasn't as like with the Minnesota Iceman, they like you could see like the blood on his face, you could see that his eyes had popped out.
Visceral.
You know, you could see it in it. And so for them, like they're like, it's not the same thing that I saw the first time I saw it. So a lot of people that came and saw this multiple times at different time frames were like, it's not, no, that is not what I saw last time. That is not what I saw. So there was a lot of chat about the Minnesota Iceman. A lot of them believed, a lot of them didn't believe, but one thing that they all agreed on, it's not the same one that he showed the first time around. A lot, like, you know, so Hansen continued to tour around this and even went as far as Canada to show the Minnesota Iceman. And on his way back from Canada, Border Patrol would not allow Hansen to bring the Iceman into the United States due to the fact that they believe he was transporting a body and did not have the proper paperwork or permissions to transport this body in and out of the United States. Hansen told him that it was that was ridiculous. It's only an exhibit. It's fake. It's not a real body. And the Border Patrol was like, okay, if so, then can we take samples of the Iceman or anything or X-ray? And Hansen said, no, that will ruin my exhibit. You are not to touch my exhibit. You are not to take samples from it. You are not to do any of the sorts. And Hansen was so stressed out about this that he started calling a lot of the people that he could possibly think of calling that would help him in this situation. He went as far as even calling Ivan, and Ivan at the time was convinced that he was now just showing a model instead of a real body. Like Ivan was like, I thought you were just showing the model. Like, why are you freaking out? Just let him do an x-ray. You mentioned it was the model, and Hansen's all like, no, they can't see it. So Ivan wasn't aware that it was the real body still being shown, you
Right.
know? And so Ivan's all like, I don't know why you're freaking out, man. Just let him do the fucking x-ray. Just let him do it. You know, it's like, it's the fake, right? And so Hansen was detained for about 24 hours. They were not allowed to touch the Iceman for about 24, actually not even 24 hours, less than 24 hours. But he finally was desperate enough that he reached out to a state senator, and not more than 24 hours was released with the Iceman without any samples being taken of the Minnesota Iceman, and not even an x-ray of the Minnesota Iceman. So if you really think about that, you had to know some really, really
some people,
powerful people to be able to transport something like that back into the United States without them looking at what you're transporting. Like, you had to know someone really, really powerful to be able to pull that off. Like, if you really, really think about it, you know what I mean? And this is why I'm not,
absolutely.
and this is
especially being released without anything, like any kind of like follow up with it and stuff. Like,
oh yeah, they just let him go, and they're like, all right, go on, sir. So after that, Hansen made a statement saying that the only way he would agree to the scientific evaluation of the Minnesota Iceman is if two requests were met. His first request was he wanted amnesty for any possible violation of federal laws. 2, a statement of complete amnesty for any state or local laws where the specimen was transported or exhibited during the 1968 circuit. Okay, so that is the only way he would let science do this. But, see, Hansen was a tricky, tricky man. He decided to, take advantage of certain things, because Ivan T. Sanderson and Bernard Heuvelman had an argument about the publishing that Sanderson released. Heuvelman was upset that Sanderson released a specific article without them getting more information, because he wanted to get ahead of it, and he was so eager to get ahead of it that he released information. And Hansen says, you jumped the gun, and because you jumped the gun, you basically gave Hansen clear warning and enough time to prepare for, what could have been. Like, you published an article, you gave him a heads up, and you published it too soon. And because you published it too soon, now he's finding ways to cover his ass, and he's doing a goddamn good job covering his ass. You know what I mean? And so the article that was published was Ivan T. Sanderson published an article talking about how he himself could recreate the Minnesota Iceman. How he himself could create a replica of the Minnesota Iceman. And in this article, he then discusses the different things he would do to be able to recreate this. So, with him publishing that article, Hansen took that and, made another poster, another sign that says, as said by so-and-so, this and that, using their words against them. But because of that article being published by Sanderson, it got over to the Smithsonian, and it convinced the Smithsonian that this was a hoax. And and the Smithsonian released a statement saying that they had no more interest in sending their specialists to study the Minnesota Iceman because of an unknown source giving them detailed information about the replication date of this model and when this model was created and how this model can be recreated, that we are now convinced that the first model that was shown in 1967 and the model in 1968 that was shown were both of the exact same model. which was created by this and this date. So they withdrew their interest in studying the Minnesota Iceman, truly believing that it was fake. Like, there's so many times that you were this close to getting some kind of scientific evidence, and Hansen just managed to just get away with it. Like, I am, like, this is why this case drove me absolutely insane, because there were so many times where we could have gotten clarification on if this was real, if this was fake, but every single time we just miss it. Like, Hansen just slips out of her grasp. And this is why I don't think Hansen's a fucking idiot, you guys. A lot of people say, oh, he's crazy. He's an idiot. He's a crazy person that believes in this shit. But for me, I'm like, no. Hansen had a plan, and he played it very, very well. Like, that, oh my God, this man.
He always seemed to be one step ahead for certain.
I mean, yeah, okay, so.
Or just getting lucky as hell, I don't know.
Now we're going to get into the different theories of the Minnesota Iceman. All right, so there was a physician who claimed that he escaped the Russians, and like he was being held prisoner because he refused to. Aw, thank you for that follow, Munchsmith. Welcome in, welcome in, welcome in. Happy to have you. Come take a seat. I hope you enjoyed the episode. We're discussing the Minnesota Iceman. We're almost halfway through. We're a little bit, maybe we're more than halfway through. Actually, we're more than halfway through because I skipped the long story in the very beginning because I'm like, this is just a lot of. I'll just grab words from that basically gives you guys an idea of what the article was about because it was ridiculously long. So, anyways. Sorry, guys. I'll give you guys my notes if you want to read it. I will send you guys my notes directly so you guys can read the entire thing if you wanted. All right, so the different theories of the Minnesota Iceman. The first one was a physician who claimed that he escaped from the Russians after they held him prisoner because he refused to inseminate human females with the sperm of an ape. Why were they doing this? He mentioned that the Russians had a bunch of these human hybrids working in the salt mines. They possessed extreme strength and were able to work all day without taking a break. They also matured faster than humans, so it was ideal for them to create these because they grew faster. They were able to work faster and they didn't need to take any breaks, so they could get more out of these creatures. And so they mature faster, and because of the fact that they are a hybrid between an ape and a human and the chromosomes don't match genetically, it made them unable to reproduce. Kind of like with a mule. Mules aren't able to produce because of the fact that they don't have an even amount of chromosomes. They have an odd amount of chromosomes because a mule is a breed of a horse and a donkey together, and their chromosomes don't match up, so therefore they're not able to reproduce. So they created these hybrid superhuman beings to work in the salt mines, and it was an ideal investment for them because they matured faster, they worked, and they were tireless, and they thought it was the best thing ever. So this person was arrested for refusing to inseminate a human female with the sperms. And so because of their genetic hybrid, they were unable to reproduce. And because of the chromosomes not being there, they're not able to reproduce, just like ligers can't reproduce, mules can't reproduce because it's two different species being combined into one. They are compatible, but to an extent, and that is it. So that is one theory about this. Okay? Another theory was it was a creature killed in the Vietnam War because he was in the Air Force and he was in the Vietnam War, our friend Hansen. He was in Vietnam for a good amount of time. And so a lot of people believe that it was a creature killed in Vietnam during the war, and it was illegally transported to the United States with the bodies of fallen soldiers, because there was some parts that, like, yeah, there was bodies of like, because of bombs and stuff like that, you don't have full bodies, and so what
Right.
happens is they would take different parts of their military soldiers and put them in a case and take them back to the United States so that they can give them a proper burial, but it's like
Right.
bits and pieces of them and even bodies. So it was transported into the United States with the bodies of the fallen soldiers in Vietnam. All right. So for me, this theory is more believable because Hansen at the time was close to retiring. He had contact with someone in the government that let him get into the United States without any problems with the Minnesota Iceman. So part of me believes that it wasn't Hansen who shot this beast, but it could be someone higher up that was still in the military that shot this beast and decided to have Hansen hold the body for, you know, for the time being while they're serving the military so that they don't get removed from the military. And, you know, they would have a fall guy if anything was to go wrong, and Hansen was their fall guy. So,
right. So
and this is why Hansen
like...
was protected when he was trying to go back
right.
into the United States. That is like a theory that I strongly believed. And on top of that, there is a Bigfoot creature in Vietnam called the Ngoi Zong. Ngoi Zongs,
Huh?
like, are, hold on. I didn't show you guys any of my pictures. I'm really bad at showing you guys the picture. Let me show you guys the pictures first before we continue on with these, and I'll show you what the Ngoi Zongs look like. But yeah, so that's the Yeren. Or no, that's MoMo. MoMo, goodbye, MoMo. We
Bye,
love you,
Momo.
MoMo. Bye, MoMo. All
Bye.
right, so this is actually the Minnesota Iceman right next to Frank Hansen himself inside of the coffin. And you could see how it was shown. It was lying down, and people would walk around the structure. So that's actually what it looked like when he would show it. So that's
really hard to see what the hell that is.
Yeah, well, it's an old picture, and I couldn't find. It was really hard to find pictures of this, despite people
I meant just
talking
like
about
in
this.
general the ice. I feel like it's so, yeah, I mean.
And this is actually the book with the picture of the Minnesota Iceman. And it was a book published by Bernard Hoovelman about his findings about the Minnesota Iceman. And it was a book called Neanderthal. So if you guys are interested in learning more about the Minnesota Iceman, grab this book. I think it's like $27 on Amazon. But it was a really, really great source. So yeah, it's a very common book that people pull up for studying the Minnesota Iceman. And then this is the some more sketches and pictures that they had of them. I think this is the sketch that he brought to the people that designed the copy of the Minnesota Iceman, or the fabricated Minnesota Iceman. And then this is, I believe, what it looks like now, where it resides up close in its face, or a generalization sketch of what it is. And then this is what the Vietnamese Bigfoot is. They are called the Ngoi Zong. They're the forest people, or also known as Vietnamese wildmen.
That's funny.
So
this wild man.
Yeah, they're about 6 to 7 feet tall. They're covered in black and dark reddish fur, and they have graying patches around the knees, and feet and hands are described as bare of no hair. It often had a reputation of breaking into houses, abducting people, stealing their food. And during the Vietnam War, when I looked up the Ngoi Zong, it talked about how the Ngoi Rung, there was a group of soldiers believed that they saw and shot a Ngoi Rung, or a Ngoi Zong, sorry, it's called a Ngoi Zong, and injured it, and it escaped, leaving footprints. So in Vietnam, there is a creature that they believe is an ancient creature. They call them the forest people, and that they were, even in the article about this one, they report that there was some American soldiers that shot one. So
there's a lot of similarities between the descriptions and like how it acts.
Well,
between that and the Yeren.
interestingly enough,
Very interesting.
There was a person that was studying the Ngoizong, and he managed to get a picture of the Minnesota Iceman. And so what happened is he would go around to the different places in Vietnam where they reported sightings of the Ngoizong. And what happened is he would show them pictures, and all of them would point at the Minnesota Iceman as as what they saw.
Interesting.
Right?
It's very interesting. Yeah, but it's like, if there was no like guidance to like, oh, pick this, that the fact that they would pick that and be like, yeah, that's
Because they would line up different pictures of
yeah,
Bigfoot-esque creatures, and everyone that he spoke to, that he showed those pictures with, that said that they saw one, would point at the Minnesota Iceman as it's that one.
yeah, that's crazy. But say, and the similarities between that and the Yeren, like just how they look and stuff. Again, just like I was talking about earlier, that the similarities between the different types of like Bigfoot and shit. It really does make you think like missing link kind of vibe.
Yeah. And so for that person to be studying them, yeah, the fact that they pointed that out, I truly, for me, the more believable story of the thousands of stories that he said, because he did a lot of bullshitting because he was trying to hide that it was like actually real, and he liked the mystery of making people guess if it was real or fake. Like, he loved that about it. He loved that about the Iceman, and he himself loved that he himself wasn't sure. You know what I mean?
He like the mystery.
He felt like it was fresher for him not to know, because him talking about it and him not knowing much about it also, like, you know, it kept the same mystery, or it just felt good to him, I guess.
Cool, yeah.
So, and if you think about it, he was in the Air Force. He was able to get back into the United States without, having the Minnesota Iceman studied in any way, shape, or form, and not being able to.
He had some connections, yeah, certainly.
And so for me, the more believable story is that it was a real Ngoizong, and we managed to get a hold of it and bring it to the United States. So,
especially knowing what it looks like and everything, I think that's definitely a high up there theory. Sure.
All right. So, do you guys want to know where it is now?
I would love to know where it is now.
Oh my god, I'm excited to tell you guys. All right, so this is when it resurfaced. So after the Smithsonian decided that they didn't want to study the Minnesota Iceman anymore because they were told by someone, an unknown source, that it was, a fake, and they were given details on how you can recreate it. After they withdrew their interest, the cops were like, well, the Smithsonian already thinks it's real. We don't need to go with your amnesty thing. And it kind of just dropped out of people's interests because people are like, oh, it's fake. And that's why everywhere you see that you do research with this, unless you do heavy research, it will tell you it's a hoax because of the circumstances that happened during the showing and because of our dear friend Frank Hansen. I can't believe this man. All right, so where it is now, it resurfaced again in 2012. So at first, this was it was very much talked about from 1967 all the way till 1969. After 1969, it kind of got forgotten, and so this is where and then it resurfaced again in 2012. So Hansen's son sold the replica to Bill Ziviech, a landscaper who then used it for Halloween hayrides. So this is the replica, not the actual body. So yeah, it was unfrozen, unprotected, and even gathered mold. So he would have like hayrides, and he would have it sitting as a display for these hayrides. Can you imagine like the history of this thing, and you put it in a fucking hayride thing? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me right now? Even though it's a replica, come on, give it some respect. So yeah, it was unfrozen, unprotected, and it was molded, and it was just shown in the hayrides for some time. And then in 2012, Adam Peck, an employee of the owner of the replica, mentioned that the model was up for sale. The International Museum of Cryptozoologists had a verbal agreement with Adam Peck and even set up a payment plan so they can get the Minnesota Iceman. But Bill Ziviech decided to go behind Adam Peck's back and listed it on eBay on February 20th, 2013.
Of all the fucking places.
The auction ended with the winning bid of $20,000 to the owner of the Museum of Weird. And as of July 13, 2013, the replica of the Iceman has finally found its home in the Museum of Weird, secluded in a cold room alongside its original sign that was being shown in the fair circuit. So, you've heard me mention the Museum of Weird before, right?
I feel like I have, yeah.
That is the home of Snippy the horse.
Yeah, you did. But I feel like we've talked about this in the podcast before.
Yep, that is the home of Snippy the horse.
You know what's funny about that? I was actually earlier when you were talking about how it became like a town spectacle, you know, I was like, wow, it's weird. That's so much like Snippy, like Lady, you know, how it became like a big town spectacle being, you know, brought place to place and shit like that. Like, it's so similar.
But yeah, so hold on. Let me show you guys a picture of Steve Boosty. Steve Boosty is the owner of the Museum of the Weird. And see that sign right there? The reason the Museum of Weird existed is because of of Steve Boosty's encounter with the Minnesota Iceman when he was 10 years old.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so apparently his auntie took him to the fair, and he was he was really obsessed with Bigfoot. He was into the Bigfoot craze. He was obsessed with it. His auntie found out about this creature that's possibly Bigfoot frozen in ice. And so she decided to take him there, and he was only 10 years old, and he was little, and so he couldn't see past the freezer because the freezer was, you know, a coffin. And so his auntie lifted him up, and he came face to face with the Minnesota Iceman, and it frightened him. So when it frightened him, he was obsessed with them, and it became a thing that just like stayed ingrained in his brain. If you look at the back over there in the back of the picture, now on public exhibit, the world famous creature on ice, Pongo, that was the sign he saw when he was 10 years old when he first saw the Minnesota Iceman. He went on, he saw the sign being sold on eBay and had to have it because it unleashed his passion for cryptozoology and is the reason why the Museum of Weird existed. Now, to this, like, it's why it exists now, is because of his encounter with the Minnesota Iceman and his obsession with it. So when he saw that the original sign that he saw when he saw the Minnesota Iceman was on sale on eBay, he bought it. And I believe he bought it for $25,000 for that sign. So he could own that sign. And that sign is now shown right next to the Minnesota Iceman in his museum.
Wow.
You know,
that's crazy that's how much it affected him, like how much it impacted his life, that he would end up here being the owner of Weird.
But
and having it.
Okay, so now recent rumors has it, as of 2022, a lot of people believe he no longer has the replica and actually has the body that was shown so long ago in the circuits. He like a lot of people believe that he has the actual body of the Minnesota Iceman now in the museum. And there was a rumor that was told that the Smithsonian had expressed interest and was planning to study the Minnesota Iceman in the next 2 years as of 2022.
I would
Unsure if
love to.
that's
Yeah, I'm gonna say, I hope
factual.
that's true.
Unsure if that's factual. Part of me still believes it's the replica. Until I go there myself and see it myself, I then might change my mind. But there's rumor that says that he might actually have the genuine body and not, and he might be showing it in that room because when you go into the room, apparently it's a very cold, frozen room, and it is
Right, like
displayed there
walk-in.
like it was displayed back in the day in the middle of the room. And yeah, a lot of people say that they believe it's the real one now and not the replica.
See, but say I want that to be true because I would love for them to actually do like some kind of like scientific analysis, to see what this could be. But then I also am wondering, like, you know how people are, like they'll make conspiracy theories out of anything.
Oh
So
yeah. Oh yeah.
I want it to be true, though. I want to know.
We would not have a podcast if people weren't, so
That's right. Damn right. You gotta stay curious. God damn it.
But that is the story of the Minnesota Iceman.
Hell yeah. That's what a ride. What a
So,
ride,
what do you
Frank.
guys think of the Minnesota Iceman? Did you guys think it was real? Do you think it was all a hoax? What is
I
your
lean
thoughts
more
on the
towards it
Iceman?
being a hoax. I think he made a lot of money off of it, and I think that he was like, "Oh hell yeah, I can really milk this thing." You know what I mean? Which, I mean, all power to him. If it, but I don't know. I want it to be real because if that was like that'd be like such a big piece of scientific evidence for like evolution, things like that. If it were to be, the missing link.
It can't
But
be real because he didn't want anyone testing it.
that's what I
That
was
would
Yeah.
thinking.
he knew
I
that
feel
would
like it's not real. Yeah.
debunk all of his claims, and then he wouldn't make money off of it anymore, and that's why he was fighting it so hard.
Yeah, I think so. I do like that idea too, Epic. Absolutely, absolutely. I do think he definitely had some kind of connections to have been able to get away at that one point. So I definitely think that gives credence to the idea, the whole like maybe he had some connections, brought it from Vietnam, but I don't know. I don't know. I just me, I lean towards him, being a human being and doing what human beings do and being like money, 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 money.
It was Vietnam. It was Vietnam. Nguyen Dung is actually a Vietnamese cryptid, and yeah, it's encrypted wiki, the Nguyen Dung, and I truly believe it was a Nguyen Dung. And do I believe that the body is still here? A part of me, I don't think the body exists anymore. I believe that there was a real body. I do believe that there was a real body, but
Hmm.
I feel like it was destroyed because if you think about it, he didn't really have the skills to save or preserve a body, and
Right, that's true.
so for me, I'm just like, I don't think it would have survived as long as it has to this day. I don't think it would have survived that long. So part of me believes that there was a real body at one point, but for me, I believe that what's in the museum right now is the replica. If he proves me wrong, then good for you, Steve. Good for you, Steve. Good for you, Steve. But for now, I do believe that it did exist, and I do believe it was probably a Nguizong. I do believe it's probably that one. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed it. But you can understand why I was so going crazy on the notes here because parts of
Right,
my
it's so
brains
much.
at one point were like it's fake, and then parts of my brains like no, it's real, and
It's
then it
real. No, it's
because
fake. No, it's real.
because he made up so many stories about this, it was so
Right.
hard to keep my notes like together
Absolutely.
and organized because it was just like it's so much. And for me to get Ivan Sanderson and Bernard Hoovelman involved in this, the godfathers of cryptozoology, like for me there was so much going on. I'm like, oh, it's a hoax. This is gonna be an easy topic to holy fuck, what did I get myself into? But this is fantastic and I'm obsessed kind of thing. But yeah, what do you
Smiley Care Bear said, "Not only do I think the Minnesota Iceman is real, I know the Minnesota Iceman is real."
how do
Now, why
you
is that, Smiley?
know?
So I would like to hear this. And I feel that, Epic. I feel that. It's fucking cold.
Anyone who lies in Minnesota in winter is a Minnesota Iceman. Is it that cold,
Yeah.
really? Oh, God. I feel like ice every time I go outside. What do you think, Baguette? Or did you just decide it's fake?
Oh, it's fake.
But, did you guys enjoy that? Did you guys have fun?
I did. I think that was a wild ride, honestly.
I told you to buckle in!
Well, it was a roller coaster.
It was. I'm glad I buckled up at the beginning. I'm glad I put on my over torso seatbelt. What are those ones called? Baguette You Ride rides. What's that called? Harness.
Like the restraints?
Care Bear
Yeah.
says Care Bear doesn't know. It was Taylor.
Super
Taylor no.
ones.
It was Taylor that stole her phone. She doesn't know. Taylor knows. You got some explaining to do, Taylor. We want to know.
They feel it in their heart. We need information.
We need information on this, but
We need deep.
as much as this drove me insane, I really enjoyed this topic. But like I said, like I expected it to be an easy topic too. Oh my God, this topic is insane to me. But I hope you guys liked it. Do you guys have any questions for any of us about any of our topics that we discussed today? The Yeren, the Minnesota Iceman, MoMo the Monster, anything? If not, we're
Thank
gonna.
you guys so much for being here.
Yeah.
Episode 4 already. That's
I
crazy.
know. Happy New Year for all of you guys. I know it's like near the end of January, but this is our first podcast of 2024, and
Yay!
this is the starting of our month to month, because we do have a couple episodes that we published last year, but that was to feel it out and see how it worked for us, to figure out how we can get this going, so that since we live so far apart, we had to figure out a way of making it work. And we did it for the charity events, and we decided that because of the amount of research we have to do, it can't be a week-to-week thing. So we're like, we can do this once a month, though. We're capable of doing this once a month. Eventually, I'd like to be able to do this more, or maybe it might be that our topics get so big that one of us speaks and the other one listens and do it twice a month, where one person in the beginning of the month does a topic, and then near the end of the month, another person. It also will help if we have guest people showing up, that they can have their part and your part and all that stuff, so we can just alternate. That's like one of the ideas that I have going on for the podcast. We are open to suggestions. We do have a Discord. Come join us in our Discord. There is a whole podcast section right there. Tell us topics you want us to cover. Tell us like ideas on how we can improve on our podcast situation. I know our audio is always a problem, and we're trying our best to do this being as far apart as we are. It'd be more fun if we were next to each other, but we probably would get so carried away that we would not even pay attention to the chat. So, you know.
Get real hyped up then.
Yeah, but I hope you guys had fun. What do you guys think? Tell us, chat, talk to us while I get us prepared to raid after we're done chatting. Talk to us. Tell us what you think. Did you have fun? Did you enjoy it? I hope you did.
I think this was a great topic too. I think this one gave us a good variety to be able to pick from, because there's so many fucking Bigfoots and Bigfoot-like creatures, you know, roaming the planet apparently.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm looking for the person to raid to, and we've got it lined up. But yeah, if you guys have no questions, I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. I hope you guys enjoyed the topics. I hope you guys enjoyed the information. Hopefully we gave you enough information for you guys to think about it. And Care Bear says, love, love, love it. It was a lot of fun. Yeah, I'm glad you guys had fun. So
yes, really.
We had fun. We look forward to seeing you guys. Next month is my birthday month, and we're going to be doing the podcast episode again. Next month, we're going to have Octavius joining us as a guest, so I'm going to have to figure out a layout for all three of us to fit in here. So we're going to have Octavius joining us next month, and I'm shooting for I wanted to do the 18th, but but that's like the day before my birthday, and it might be a little crazy. So part of me wanted to do it on the 18th or the 25th. Those are the two dates that I was thinking. So, but the 25th I'm going to be hurting, because on the 24th is when I'm getting my thigh tattoo done. So that's why I was thinking one thing. But we can figure that out. But if you guys have suggestions, please come join us in the Discord. Send us some messages and topics on what you thought of everything. I really hope you guys enjoyed the topics. Yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the story about the Yeren. I hope you guys enjoyed MoMo. Speaking of which, Minnesota, can I talk to you for a second? Why don't you guys have a hockey team called the Minnesota Icemen? Why?
It would be smart. No
Capitalize
MoMo,
on your
no
cryptid,
Minnesota
bro.
Iceman.
Just capitalize on your cryptid. Come on. Missed opportunities.
Do it.
Don't they have the Vikings?
Yeah, it's not cryptid.
Yeah, it's a missed opportunity. I'm just saying. I mean, you've got the Jersey Devil that took off, and you've got the Mothman team. I'm just saying. Minnesota Iceman for a hockey team? Come on. Or an ice skating league? I don't know.
I think it would be great.
But all right, if you are ready, come and hang out with us again next time. I hope you guys had fun with the topic. Yes. I hope you enjoyed it. Hopefully you guys are still awake. For all of you guys that are asleep, I'm sorry. We're gonna go ahead and do the pod raid message right over here. Go ahead and copy and paste that pod message right there, and we're gonna go ahead and take this party over to our friend Alienated Panda. I think that's who I'm going for. Is that who I'm going for? Hold on. Is that who I'm going for? Yeah, that's who we're going for. I'm going for
that message. Yeah. That's cute. I love that you have your own little raid message for our podcast.
Of course.
Adorable.
I'm glad. So copy and paste that raid message. Let's go ahead and take this party over here. I love you guys. Thank you for hanging out with us. Say goodbye,
See you guys
chat.
Next time.
Goodbye.
Oh,
Say
wait,
goodbye.
we gotta do our outro. Hold on.
Oh, yeah, hold on. Oh, wait. Does that mean Baguette gets to say and? Does Baguette get to say and? Baguette, okay. So she's going to say the first part. You're going to say and I'm going to end it. Got it?
Okay.
All right.
I thought you said you start, don't you?
Well, we alternate. I think I closed last time. Do I start this time? I can do it. I can do it. I'll start it today. All right. All right. Right? We'll stay thick. Baguette.
And?
You stay spooky. I ruined it.
Let's try this again. Okay. We'll stay thick.
And?
You stay spooky.
Hell yeah.